anything. Japan doesn't care.
Yeah, I guess
They just eat fried chicken.
Japan's the only place that is actively has some stuff, but
Japan's next 3 weeks is ridiculous.
yeah, that's true. That's true.
I've already lost sleep.
That's fair. All right, I am streaming. I am recording, and here we go. Let's start the show in 3, 2. Well, let me turn my volume up. 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Ring Post Radio. Scotty muted himself, but he just had what looked like the biggest sneeze in the world, and just oh man, you almost fell out of your chair. It was hilarious. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for Ring Post Radio. Thank you so much for joining us. I am your host, Ryan Knightsey. With me, as always, is the Sneeze Master. Not the Shock Master, but the Sneeze Master. He almost fell out of his chair. Scotty Edwards. Scotty, you look like you're still recovering, so I'll give you a moment. Still recovering. Perfect. And joined today for Ring Post Radio, we have a guest joining us today all the way from Scotland. We have Sam Roberts. Sam, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me. Yeah, I just caught a red-eye flight. Excited to be here.
Yeah, no, it cost a lot to bring you out here, even though you're in a different room. We had to buy a house to put you in a different room. It was very expensive.
Yeah, I have very high maintenance. My rider is incredible. Only green M&Ms, please.
Of course. I ate the rest of them, just in case anyone's wondering. But yes, editor-in-chief over at Near Falls Media, worker at Arcade in Glasgow, which I'm very jealous. I wish I have like an arcade near me, but your arcade looks more fun. Mine is more like there are arcade machines. Well, it's more pinball than anything else, I guess. Now that I say that, now I think about it, but. I wish I had more of like a fun arcade that I can go to than just like a dingy old pinball place. But I'm very jealous.
I can't take credit for how it looks. I can just take credit for the energy. I always say to people when they come in, it's like everyone else that works there putting the effort to make it look cool. I'm just the blabbermouth that talks too much and likes to talk about the place. So
perfect.
If you come in, you'll probably end up talking to me because I won't shut up.
Well, that's beautiful. Perfect. That's what's needed. Well, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. We have a lot of topics to get to. We're gonna talk about a little bit of Tag League. Well, if we get to the time of Tag League, I know we didn't run out of time last week to talk about it, so we'll see if we can quickly talk about it. We're also going to talk about some of the news bits this week of Vince and Mandy and Sasha. We're also going to be talking about AEW Winter is Coming. Scotty, are you finally back from your sneeze attack?
It wasn't a sneeze; it was a cough.
Oh, okay.
Actually.
Oh, my apologies, sir. My
sneeze
apologies.
would have been far less painful.
You look like you were dying in this video.
It was bad. But I'm here. I'm here to talk about all the topics that I barely wanted to talk about this past week, except for Sasha. Sasha's the only topic I ever want to talk about.
So you got Sasha.
It's like a personal win right now. So it's like every single time we get more news about more dates, I'm just like, I win. I was right, and I win.
Mm-hmm.
The other two, I definitely didn't predict those. So, I guess I'll act like I have thoughts on them, which I do.
Well, we'll get to those. Sam, I wanted to ask you, since this is your first time coming on the show, I feel like a chalk question is, what was the thing that got you into wrestling? So I was going to ask it. What is the thing that got you into wrestling? What this crazy world that is professional wrestling?
NXT
so I realized in the last year my memory sucks. So I can't tell you what it was when I was a kid. Mm-hmm. I can tell you that around late 2018, I'm a big Jeff Hardy fan. I was just thinking, what's he up to these days? So I went on YouTube and just searched Jeff Hardy. I think it was a What Culture news video came up, which was like, Jeff Hardy's been arrested again. And I was like, oh, cool. But as part of that video there's this crazy thing called All In. Also, there's this woman called Becky Lynch. She's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. So I checked out Becky Lynch and her rise, and that was something where I was like, that's awesome. Mm-hmm. And then Double or Nothing was coming up, and I thought, well, I'll check this out because it's new and different, and what's this going to be about? And I saw Luchasaurus chokeslam Joey Janela through a table and thought, that's sweet, there's a wrestling dinosaur. And then Hangman Page comes out, and MJF is part of that match, and there's loads of people I'd never even heard of doing awesome stuff. Plus, as I say, things like Becky Lynch coming through, and Charlotte Flair, and Sasha Banks, and women's wrestling was finally like an important thing in Western wrestling for the first time in my life. So there was a lot of things came all at once where I was like, all of this is cool. And then I just got lost thinking about it and talking about it, and there were more people talking to me about wrestling that meant I could get into it. So to blame for me getting back into wrestling, at least, is Becky Lynch, Luchasaurus, Hangman Page, in that order.
Wow.
That's fascinating. Because it's almost like
that's the weirdest faction of all time.
Yeah. If you want to add the fourth person to that list that then got me introduced to wrestling outside of North America, the fourth person in that faction is Yuka Sakazaki. So take that for a team of four.
Yeah, all right.
I was going to say the fourth person was Jeff Hardy's DUI officer. Oh, we love Jeff. We hope he's getting better. Well, yeah,
which one?
Sounds like he's getting better. Who, Jeff? Oh, which one?
Which DUI officer?
Jesus Christ. Well, that's interesting.
I love Jeff. That's the sad part. I'm sorry.
Know. We want him to be better.
Hope he's feeling better. Hope he's getting better.
It's interesting, Sam, because it's like, it's very much, it's fascinating to also hear that you watched like early 2000s, 90s back in the day?
It freaks people out when I reveal my age. I don't think on this show, but most of the time, because I just turned 23 last week. So my peak wrestling viewership is like, the year I remember most is 2009 to 2011.
Same.
Jeff Hardy getting kicked out of WWE, which made me have to go and check out Impact, which was quite cool, because again, I like different and who are these people and what is an abyss and that sort of stuff.
What is an abyss?
So 2009 to 2011, I always say is like my peak. But I think I watched it before and after. It's just I don't have the distinct memories I do of, like, growing up, I despised CM Punk because of his entrance where he dressed like Jeff Hardy, for example.
Yeah.
That's like a burned memory in my head. That and the Jeff Swanton onto Umaga off the top of a trailer.
Yep.
And the Swanton onto Randy from the stage.
Yeah.
So
Jeff had
around that.
Jeff had a lot of big moments in that year, 2 years or whatever that was.
His first world title win is from Armageddon of 08, and then he runs through to late 2009 where he then gets kicked out of the company. So it's like a 1 year thing of like, whoa, he's amazing, and then he's in Impact again.
Yeah, no, it's fascinating. I was also watching wrestling around that time, and I remember thinking yeah, Jeff Hardy was one of the things that kept me in. We talked about it before, but I remember it was like Jeff, Batista, because I'm from the DC area, so I always loved Batista for that. The Undertaker was another one, and just never putting any bodies away, just always burying bodies. Always just making bodies, not burying them. But
serial killer Undertaker.
Yeah, but it's fascinating because you were sort of a lapsed fan, but not. I mean, this is sort of well known. Not necessarily like a lapsed fan that AEW was going for. Like they were going for maybe Attitude Era or pre-Attitude Era, quote unquote, Golden Age sort of wrestling stuff. But instead, you were a lapsed fan from the late 2000s of kind of ruthless aggression after that. Not really.
PG.
People Power, PG era. Remember People Power? I do.
I like to say I'm a lapsed fan from the anonymous Raw GM era.
Yes.
Is that better?
Yes. And then going into and coming over across to AEW and then fully falling in love with AEW in that sense.
It's like your entire story, Ryan.
In a lot of ways. I got in before AEW. It was really New Japan that got me in. And
that's true, but you're an AEW freakazoid. So
I am an AEW freakazoid, so that's fine. But it was for me, it's a similar thing where I was watching wrestling in the 08, 9, 10, 11, 12. I got out of it right as the Shield were entering.
Yeah.
Which is, it was the Shield entering and Daniel Bryan getting the big push, quote unquote, big push into WrestleMania. that's when I left. And then I came back in because I was seeing all these GIFs online of Kenny Omega doing crazy stuff in Japan. And I was like, well, that's awesome. That's cool. And I started getting into it that way. And so it's similar. It's interesting. We almost had similar journeys, but I just went
My story
Japanese
is
and you went to
not
AEW.
as fun as that.
Yeah, your story is you saw Sasha
I
Banks
started
once.
watching wrestling. My story is I bought SmackDown versus Raw 2007 at a video shop, and
It's insane how much that game comes up. By the way,
yeah, it's a
with
great
people,
game.
that being the thing that makes
I
them
want to
fans.
know that it's a fantastic game. And so my funny thing is, I don't know if I've ever said this on this show, but I had no idea that those people were real when I had the game. Had not a clue. I just thought they were guys that took pictures, for the cover, and that was that. So like when I saw them on TV for the first time, I was like, "Oh my god, this is amazing!" And I've never looked back. Which maybe that's a bad thing, maybe that's a good thing. I unfortunately do have a good memory, so I remember like way too many things. But I will tell you everyone, because this is my favorite story. So I was explaining to you guys before how my friend's favorite wrestler of all time is The Undertaker.
Mm.
His first live pay-per-view ever that he got to watch was WrestleMania 30.
Wow.
Harsh.
The WrestleMania that, of course, the streak was broken. So he was not okay.
That is one of my memories I do remember. Is the first pay-per-view I got was WrestleMania 25.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's a good one.
Jeff versus Matt, brother versus brother.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a friend stay over, and because time zones, we watched it the next morning, not live, eating cereal in our pajamas, which is like an awesome memory.
That's nice. That's awesome. That is awesome.
But yeah, I feel like this is not the point of this show, is to talk about our wrestling memories. I'll happily do an entire podcast with you guys about how Jeff Hardy was sweet in 2009. But I'm here to help you get your format on track. Let's go. We've got things to talk about, people to say, words, anecdotes.
He's better than us on that one. Come on, Ryan.
I mean, I was about to transition to it, but I think I just will let Sam host the show this week. I'm busting your balls. No worries. I love it. I love it. And also, by the way, Sam, you say that we need to get back on format. This is the show. This is basically, this is essentially the show. We should get back on format. But we have a lot of stuff to talk about and already previewed it. So, thank you again, Sam, so much for coming on. So let's get to it. I'll ask you, Sam, because you're a guest. We got the 3 news bits on top about WWE's things: Mandy, Sasha, and Vince. Who would you like to tackle first?
I think this is going to be crazy as a choice, but I want to talk about Mandy first because I think it's the most interesting and fresh of all of them.
All right.
I think Sasha stuff's been happening most of the year. Vince has been a massive deal, but has also been happening most of the year. Whereas the Mandy thing is still less than a week old at this point.
Sure. Well, let's talk about Mandy Rose. So, Mandy,
somehow people talk about it the least already.
Yeah, that's probably true.
So sad. So sad.
But I haven't got to talk about it, okay?
I haven't either, so I'm right there with you. Let's do it.
Former NXT Women's Champion Mandy Rose was released by WWE I believe it was this Tuesday after NXT. I don't know if it was Wednesday or Tuesday, but she was released this Tuesday. There are reports by various outlets saying that one of the reason that Mandy Rose was released was her posting content to the OnlyFans-esque site called Fantime. And that played a role into her departure. It was a place where she can post adult-themed videos and photos for a subscription. Whereas, I think the conversation also was had about how it started with a lot of just sort of like the racy sort of photo stuff, and then it started going into the territory of Mandy asking people and rating people's penises, and then having more and more like softcore content on the site, and allegedly that is what caused her to get released. It's believed that WWE at one point in time knew that she was posting stuff on Fantime. It's just that when it became more softcore, that is when it became an issue for the company. But it became softcore at least a little bit earlier than this. So, Sam, we'll start with you since you wanted to talk about this first. How do you feel about Mandy Rose getting fired by WWE earlier this week?
I think what I wrote down as a note was contract means contract. So if they deem what she's posting to be unacceptable, and one of the reports was that the issue was with Mattel as a sponsor, where they weren't happy that someone that they're producing stuff for is involved in this sort of world. Contract means contract. They can let her go if they want. There is a massive double standard with that, where there are other wrestlers, even within the last week, talking about that when they were in WWE, they were told, you have to be sexy like Mandy. Be like Mandy. She's a great example of being alluring, right? Mm-hmm. You can't make money off of telling people to be sexy. And then when they are using that to their own advantage, saying, well, that's out with the terms of your contract. You're being too sexy now. Stop that. Mm-hmm. You're fired. There's no reporting as of yet whether she was given an ultimatum. So right now it seems very much like what happened is Matt Bloom found the photos, is how the story goes, and went, Sean, Mr. Higginbottom, fire her, which would be very inappropriate. If at the very least they said, you can either continue working with us and get rid of this, or it's up to you, that seems slightly more, slightly nicer from their perspective.
Yeah. But
either way, massive double standard on WWE's part.
Yeah, I would have to imagine, not being in the room, obviously, that a ultimatum was hit at some point, because that's an easy thing to do, is to just say get rid of the account. But I'm also probably under the impression that Mandy was making enough money to be like, no, I don't necessarily even need this job. But yeah, no, and then the same thing of, obviously this content wasn't like this originally. It became this at some point. It became more softcore at some point. So I think that is also how long has it been like that? When did they start noticing? And maybe that being the thing. Scotty, how do you feel about Mandy Rose?
I think the picture this paints is the picture it has painted a long time for WWE, no matter who's in charge, whether it be Vincent Kennedy McMahon, whether it be Triple H, whether it be Nick Khan. And it's that you will get to be kept around if they value you more than someone else. Mm-hmm. My examples, because people have been tweeting this all week, is, well, the Usos got, 7 DUIs and they're still around. Okay, well, think about it for a second. Who are they related to? What value do they bring compared to the NXT Women's Champion to them? To them, not to, the person watching, but to them. Who's more important, Roman's cousins or, Mandy Rose, who didn't do much of anything until she was brought back to NXT?
And even then, they moved her down to NXT.
Right. And even then, the thing I saw mentioned this week by, I think, Hollywood Hangman Pierce, was that the only reason she was moved to NXT is because she's unvaccinated.
Yeah.
And so she couldn't travel with the rest of the roster.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's a good point. But again, that I think that brings up the point of, it's all about how they value someone. If they valued Mandy Rose to a point where, she's making them money and, she's a big star in terms of the main roster, she's probably kept around, truthfully, because that's just what happens. I mean, we reportedly Matt Riddle is in what is he doing? I don't know.
He's in a rehab facility.
He's in rehab
after he was given the same ultimatum that Jeff Hardy was given again, of either you go and get support with this or you're fired. And so he said, I'm going to go and get support.
So there you go. Like, they gave him an ultimatum. Now, maybe they did give Mandy an ultimatum. We like Sam said, we don't know that. I'm sure they did. But if she's making more money doing that than showing up to NXT once a week in Florida, and she prefers to do that, then go ahead, go do that.
It's less bumps. It's less bumps for sure.
A lot less bumps.
There's one bump, but maybe that's a different story.
I don't. All right. But to me, it's like, I think the double standard thing is right, but I also have to remember that this is a different regime than it was when that was the standard, right?
Yeah.
The be sexier, be like Mandy Rose. That was the Vince McMahon regime. We are in a new regime now where they are trying to, I wouldn't say PG it up necessarily, but the moment a sponsor comes in is the moment everything changes. We saw that with the Fabulous Moolah Battle Royal, right? Snickers got angry. They changed it instantly to the Women's WrestleMania Battle Royal.
Yeah.
Right. So if a sponsor comes in, like, I get it, because for them, that's them making money. So that's the mindset you have to take here. She's making money doing that, but they're making money through Mattel, and they're making money through these people. So I get it from both sides. It sucks because, again, this is what she was told to be by them. And they clearly didn't say recently, "Oh, you can stop trying to do this," because that was her entire gimmick up until the final day.
Yep.
But Roxanne Perez is NXT Women's Champion. Let's take like one okay thing out of this.
I think a lot of people are saying to go back to what we were saying in terms of your value. She wasn't needed on the main roster. She went to NXT out of convenience. She's had a over year-long reign as NXT champion where the end goal is to put over a young talent. I think most people's only complaint is that they wish there'd been more build to Roxanne taking the belt. But at the end of the day, she's gone out doing what you should do in wrestling and put over a younger talent who's now in a better position. Yeah. But then if it's true and Mandy can't go back to the main roster for whatever the reason may be, then what do you do with her in NXT going forward?
What was it? I think it was Fightful that reported there was no plans to bring her up anytime soon, or there was no immediate plans, which speaks a lot to what you were talking about, is that the other two in Toxic Attraction have been getting tryout matches. So clearly she may have never been going up. So again, to that value point, it's like, all right, well, if we weren't going to bring her up anytime soon, it's almost like they were looking for a reason to. They weren't, because they had her as champion.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't be crazy if they were looking for a reason because of situation like that. Well, we don't need her in NXT, but we'd also truthfully, they would have needed her on SmackDown because at least she was a person that got reactions. But it is what it is. At the end of the day, I think it's a sucky situation, but it's a very WWE situation, if you know what I mean.
I want to bring up the 2 points, and that is, I definitely agree with you or you guys saying that. I think this is definitely a instance of sponsorships coming up and saying something. The Mandy Rose rating dick pics thing was like a month ago. Maybe longer than that. This is like a brand new thing, and the idea of, like with Snickers and the Fabulous Moolah, this idea of maybe Mattel saying something and then WWE being like, okay, we'll just drop her. Like they would have maybe allowed it or have allowed it up until a sponsor got involved. And, to that point, yeah, I mean, maybe it's not a good thing for your champion to doing like softcore porn stuff on fan time, but it's another thing also at the same time to be like, okay, if sponsors are coming in, then then we need to get rid of this. The second point is, Scotty, I just want to verify you believe that not only do you probably want to see it, but that Roman Reigns could get away having an OnlyFans, is what you're saying.
He probably could.
And you would want to, and we all want to subscribe to that. I want to see
that tweet that was like, we finally know what Mustafa Ali had to do last year. He should just get an OnlyFans and go crazy.
Yeah, I did see that. And I think the thing with this is, like, one, good for her that she not only, stayed by her guns because she's probably making more money that way, but she's raised the price since then, I've read. Yeah. And I was like, that's very funny.
From like 25 to 45 or something like that.
Yeah, good for her.
I don't know that. I don't know that number. I don't know what you're talking about.
But two, I think this is a slippery slope for them now, because if someone wants out of their contract, what's stopping them from doing one little thing like this? Yeah. Right? It does bring into question something like that. But I mean, we're about to be at a time, if a certain old man comes back into power, everyone's gonna walk out. So this might be the least of their problems at the moment.
Well, that seems like a perfect transition to a certain old man. Thank you, Scotty.
You're welcome.
Let's talk about Vince McMahon.
Do we have to? I'm so done with this old man.
So
You're the one who did the transition. I don't.
Because I knew we were going to, but it was a good transition. I felt pretty good about it.
So, in a recent Wall Street Journal article published on Tuesday, there were several things revealed about the former WWE chairman and current head of the board, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, still, Vince McMahon. I think the big thing that's sort of getting walked over a little bit is that there are new legal actions being taken towards Vince McMahon. There is Rita Chatterton, who was a referee for WWE back in the 80s, I believe, 90s. One of the
first female referee in the company's history.
Correct. And a incident involving Vince McMahon and her back in 1986, where she is asking for $11.75 million in damages. There was also another. This is actually a second time where a Vince McMahon's attorney received an email from a lawyer for a former spa manager who said that Vince McMahon assaulted her at a California resort in 2011. This is a second spa manager that has come forth about Vince McMahon, which kind of gives credence to the first report about that as well. And so they are also asking for damages in regards to Vince McMahon. So we have two, not really new because Rita Chatterton has been well known, but also at the very least a second spa manager thing. We have two new things for Vince McMahon. But while this is also happening, while all this stuff is still happening, according to the Wall Street Journal, Vince McMahon, for some reason, that he believes that he was giving wrong advice, bad advice from those close to him, and thinks the allegations would have all blown over if he didn't step down. So it is believed and is noted that Vince McMahon has told people that he, quote, intends to make a comeback to WWE. I am fascinated by the thoughts of this man, that thinking that this will all be over. In some ways, sure, the stocks didn't take as big of a hit when he left, but that's probably because
didn't they go up?
They went up slightly, but the idea would they would have taken a big hit. And yeah, I can see that and being like, yeah, I shouldn't have left because the stocks didn't take a hit, but they might have taken a hit if you stayed. So I think this is
if you walk back in.
They might take a hit if you walk back in. I think this is a bold thought process from old Vincey. So Scotty, since you transitioned us over here, thoughts on the two new reports about Vince's alleged sexual misconduct, and then also thoughts on Vince trying to get back into WWE.
Vince McMahon's a horrible, horrible, horrible human being. I think that should be the first, second, and third comment most of the time. But because we needed to get dunks in this week, we had to skip over that he had two new things against him because he said he was coming back. So let's dunk on Triple H. And let's to me, that shouldn't have been the conversation instantly.
Yeah.
Like, this guy has two new charges against him. He has an entire, he shouldn't be thinking about coming back. He should be paying for what he has done. That's what he should be doing. Mm. But no, the bigger topic is the idea of him possibly coming back. He's not coming back. He's not. It's just not going to happen. That entire half of that company will walk up. I do believe that. Yeah, you'll keep Roman Reigns. I'm sure. I'm positive you'll keep Roman Reigns. But all the people that Triple H has brought back, they have to be walking out tomorrow.
When you say walking out, do you mean on their own accord or because they got fired?
Yes. It might be both.
Yeah.
But I understand he has like the board power or whatever, but he just can't come back. There's sponsors will be pissed. Like you want to talk about the sponsor?
I was going to say, talk about a double standard.
With Mandy Rose, the sponsors are going to be like, no, we're not doing this.
Yeah.
We're not doing this. We're not having this guy who's in the news every few months about legal, sexual assault. And someone commented on one of my tweets is like, well, it was all everything was fine. Like it was all agreed upon. I was like, what what are you talking about? Did you read any of these?
Yeah.
And it's like it's just bad.
Yeah.
It's just all bad. I'm sick of hearing about Vince McMahon. I want this old man to leave the news. That's what I want.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Like the lawsuits and stuff keep coming out and keep burying his name. Go right ahead. I hope everyone that he's affected gets the right treatment and gets their money or gets their, because listen, he's done a lot of bad things. We've always known that. That's the problem for me. That we've always known Vince McMahon has done bad things. It's just this year, something was finally done about it to get him out of power and out of a top position.
Something being the company finding out he was taking money from them.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Not any sort of social well-being and positivity, which is why I would disagree on the idea of people walking out of the company. Like one of the things we didn't touch on with the Mandy Rose thing is that there were rumors she might join Impact, but if she's getting paid more from what she's got on the side than by WWE, there's almost no company that could pay her the equivalent amount. The same will go for a lot of the wrestlers that might walk out, but then there's so much financial insecurity that comes from doing that. So I don't think that would happen if he joined, but I do agree with you that he's not likely to come back because sponsors would get annoyed because for the first time since 1992, Rita Chatterton is in the news, is in the Washington Post, because this is again another news story negatively about Vince that sponsors won't want to have to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely hope
sponsors are always the winners here.
Yeah, I mean, WWE at the same time is like they are, they did. I think that's a great point. Is that this has been happening for decades, but it's not. It hasn't really become like a thing until money was taken directly out of the company's pockets, directly out of their coffers. And then nowadays, I'm sure you also have sponsors. I'm fascinated to know who the people Vince McMahon talked to that he believes he got bad info from. I think that is a nugget of information.
Triple H.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Triple H, I think is a good suspect. The guy booking NXT.
I just want to know who sent in the information.
Again,
using company money. Because shout out to that guy.
Again,
girl. I don't know who it was.
That's a great point. Who I think Triple H is a weird suspect because it is someone like who has enough power in the company to have that information.
Listen, Triple H.
And who has enough of a vendetta, maybe not vendetta necessarily, but who has enough of a motive of being like, I had all this and then I lost it all. I had all this power and lost all of my power and got demoted and everything. Then Triple H. I mean, he is I would say if I had to put a conspiracy hat on, he is suspect number one at least. Maybe I would do some investigation with the guy.
I like you using the word suspect because it makes it feel like a game of Clue. And right now, I've also got Shane and Stephanie as suspects.
Well, Shane's in the parlor, and I believe Stephanie is in the billiards room. And then we'll go sort of from there.
Shane had got fired in January of this year.
Yeah.
Part of me thinks maybe he thought, well, if Dad's not around anymore, maybe I get brought back. And then Stephanie took leave of absence like a week before everything came out about Vince, which could be because Triple H was like, hey, just to let you know, I've sent all this stuff over to the Washington Post.
I mean, you're saying that like Stephanie had no idea. You're saying that like, by the way, this is happening.
And then Trips told her, and she was like, I'm going on holiday for a week. I'll see you later.
It wasn't even just a week. She was just like, until I feel like I'm coming back. It was whenever.
I think people do need to remember, like, Vince was pretty much kicking out Stephanie and Triple H. Like, he was very much in the midst of getting them out of the company. Triple H's role diminished a lot.
Yeah.
And, he could say it was because of health, but clearly it's not, as he's running the company again.
Good point.
Clearly health wasn't holding him back. That was his decision. And then Stephanie going on the leave, everyone was like, oh, interesting. And now we're here, right? Now we're here. Now we know that she didn't need to leave because she came right back into business and helped run the company. His health wasn't holding him back from doing things. It was just, it was Vince McMahon's way of, trying to make the company more his even more. He is someone who doesn't like to lose, right? He doesn't like to lose anything. So to him, he's probably sitting at home like, oh my God, I should have fought for this. I should have stayed. I should have never stepped down.
He's also probably bored out of his mind.
Oh, he absolutely is. I mean, this is a psycho man that was on the road for 50 years.
Texting people at 4 a.m. Hey, I got an idea, pal.
Right. Like, he is probably absolutely bored out of his mind. But in a lot of ways, I think he also probably just hates what Triple H is doing. So that's probably half the problem too. Like, he is such I want my way or nothing.
Yeah.
And that's always been him. That's the reason WWE television has sucked for the past decade.
Yeah.
Plus. So
it's funny.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I was gonna say is that it's funny that you say that like WWE television has sucked and that he wants power again, and it's he's blaming Triple H and all that stuff. It's interesting to note that this report comes a day after Monday Night Raw has like one of its worst ratings.
Well, that's just TV too.
Well, but it's like the Triple H ratings pop has gone down to the point of he's starting to do worse numbers than Vince put up. And if you're still the board of the company and you see this, you're like, we need something to fix this up. And what is Vince like doing more than putting himself on television to help get a ratings pop? I mean, we've seen that happen the last several years with, if we need a ratings pop, we put, we'll do another reunion, or we'll do the McMahons are on there. Or, okay, how can we bring in Steve Austin? We got to bring in, who can we bring in to help give us a little pop? And, I wouldn't be surprised if Vince is like, all right, pal, I need to get back in the saddle. I'll right this ship. Even though I don't know how he would do that, but we'll see.
It's hard what Trips is doing in terms of trying to re-educate an audience to something slightly different. I'm not by any means saying that WWE is totally reinvigorated and changed and totally different from when Vince was in charge, but he's trying to slowly be like, there are other ways of doing wrestling than what you might have been used to for the last 25 years. And with that comes some missteps of loss of viewership, maybe, where people are like, I don't know if this is for me anymore, or whatever it may be.
Right.
It's a hard thing to do, and something that's very easy for a wise older head like Vince to come back around and start worm-tonguing people, being like, hey, this is a bad sign,
Yeah, but it's also like, to that point, is like, you would, in hindsight, Triple H should have, if he wanted to, or if he had the control of it all, to make more massive changes faster. The point of losing, that sort of hardcore wrestling fan person is starting to pass by him. It is, if not has already passed him by, of that ability of like, oh yeah, going out there and having a 30-minute classic match, 4-star match out there, and doing that, every single week or whatever, that it's starting to pass him by at this point. Of because people tuned in. I mean, I tuned in at one point in time and just be like, oh, let's see how this Triple H thing. Didn't really feel much of a difference. There were things here and there, but at this point, I'm like, okay, I'm good. I got my fill of whatever the changes were. I don't need like random ass people getting re-signed every single week, like Top Dollar or something.
Leave that man alone.
his leg gave out, everybody. Calm down. His leg gave out.
Triple H has made it a lot more watchable. I'll give him that.
Yeah.
But I think what we have to remember is that he does have to play to that base audience still. There is a base there.
Yeah, that's true.
That doesn't go away, right? Because they just like watching WWE and they like what WWE has to offer. But he is trying to put in the little things to get the hardcore fan back in. I think asking anyone to watch 5 hours of weekly WWE television is just asking a lot, right? Because you're never going to like everything on a show. It's just not going to happen. That's the problem with 3 hours. I rarely ever like everything on AEW show, and I love watching AEW because that's just how this works. You can't love everything.
Sure.
And the fact that I can walk away from like SmackDown this week and say I like something, that's a win. Because listen, I was not doing that 6-7 months ago.
Good point.
I'm not even coming close to that. You know, the good things that he's done is he's made the Intercontinental Championship matter again. He's made the US title matter. Like he's doing those little type things.
Yeah.
Right. And that I appreciate. And I do think that after WrestleMania is his chance to kind of fully reset because he is still playing with some of the Vince McMahon pieces here. He is playing with the Roman Reigns has everything possible, right? Yeah. Like he's playing with that. And he's made the best of it. He's rejuvenated that with Sami Zayn. I don't think anyone saw that coming. And credit to Sami Zayn too, obviously. You know, he's the one that got it over. But I have given no, don't get me wrong. I don't know why he signed everyone back. I think that was more of I feel bad because I brought you into the company originally. Yeah. You got released during COVID, and now I'm bringing you back. I think that's what it is more than anything. The fact he's disappointed with some of these people, as reported this week, not a big shock. All right, not a big shock.
It's real tough to see that. And I'm joking on Top Dollar, but it's real tough to see like Vince being like, I'm upset by a couple people, and then the next Friday have Top Dollar do an awful Tope Conillo over.
And it's like Triple H hasn't done things that I believed he would do. Like Johnny Gargano's a background character. The moment he walked into the company, I was like, oh, this guy's going to matter. Hasn't happened, right? Hasn't happened. He hasn't fully embraced his visions yet, I think.
Which has started the conversation of like, I mean, Bruce Pritchard still there, Kevin Dunn still there.
There's still a lot of Vince there.
Yes.
So it is a matter of what he does and what he doesn't do.
You would think
he brought Bray Wyatt back, so I think maybe Vince might be right.
You would think.
I'm just kidding.
You would think that. I guess the question there is that if
I watched the Uncle Howdy thing this week, it's really staying with me. It was really bad, guys.
He's the only one that Triple H is still happy with bringing back. Uncle Howdy. Uncle Howdy's his high point.
Yeah. I guess the thing also there is that you would think that if Triple H had more power, Bruce, Kevin, Dunn wouldn't necessarily be there, unless he wants them to be there. But you would think he would bring in people that he really liked working with, like Road Dogg or I don't know Ryan Ward. Is he still there? Remember that guy?
Yeah. I know Road Dogg's back.
Yeah, Road Dogg's back.
Who's the TNA guy he brought in? Jerry Borash. I think that's his guy.
Yes.
JB's back? Yes. Well, I missed that.
Yeah, he's back. On the main roster. The Evolve guy is back. Who did the Twitter Spaces Evolve guy? Why do I forget his name all of a sudden?
Gabe
Sapolsky. Yeah,
he's back too.
He's brought back a couple of people, but some are still there. So he's only been able to bring back enough of his team to make changes, but it hasn't been a full regime change, I guess. Let's move on and talk about Sasha Banks. So last week we had a lot of
great point.
We had a lot of not necessarily rumors, but like getting to the sense of we're heading in this direction. And I think this week we've really finalized this is happening. Sasha Banks, we got it confirmed from, I believe it was Fightful that confirmed Raj Giri's report from June that Sasha Banks is officially not with WWE. She is a free agent, but part of her contract thing was you can't wrestle until January. So all that is backed up. We know she's no longer a WWE contracted wrestler. We also know is she has a deal on the table with WWE, obviously. They're still trying to get her, but that deal is financially not what she wants. The report saying there is that she wants to be on the same level of pay with Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair, and they're like, no, no. Which I think I would argue she should actually get more than the two of them. But that's my argument. She has that. She has not on the table, but has signed up for several dates with Stardom, or rather not necessarily Stardom, but Bushiroad, the parent company of Stardom and New Japan. It was she did apparently talk with Rossi Ogawa at some point over Stardom, and Rossi was like, "I don't got that kind of cash. I'm sorry." And then of course,
my man,
and then he's like, Bushiroad, help me out here. They helped him out, and I think that's knowing. I'm looking at the VOW report, and there aren't like dates on it, but I wonder at what point the conversation with Rossi and then Bushiroad of Sasha Banks started, and when did that start turning into let's make the IWGP Women's Title? But that's a story for another day. But we do know is that she has multiple dates with Bushiroad. It looks like it will probably be more New Japan stuff. I believe at least one of the shows was reported as being Stardom. I believe if Scotty
big show in April.
It's the big show in April.
What is, and I quote from Dave, supposed to be their biggest show in history. So
yes. So there's also, if I'm not mistaken, isn't there a show with Stardom wrestlers in like California next year or something?
I mean, the Stardom wrestlers aren't announced yet, but there is Battle in the Valley.
Yeah. So I wonder if there's also potential that she could wrestle at that show.
Sure.
That's the discussion as well. But yeah, so it looks like that Sasha Banks is officially heading to New Japan, heading to Stardom. And then there's also the nebulous of heading to maybe like AEW or other places, because there's
NWA.
NWA, of course, Billy Corrigan, big fan. She loves the Smashing Pumpkins. But the nebulous of the LA Forum show that they announced before the Sasha Banks news really broke, but they talked about it a little bit more on Rampage this past week, which I thought was fascinating. Having Saraya out there talking about it, and then, oh no, what color do we put behind Saraya? Purple. I don't know. Let's just do purple. That's just a color. I don't know. There's nothing there, but maybe there's something. So Sam, what do you think? Sasha Banks, no longer a WWE contracted wrestler, contracted with New Japan and Stardom, and maybe heading all over the place next year, 2023. Here we go.
I think good. That's my answer. I think Meltzer's thing was that there is no way that New Japan or Bushiroad could match the contract that she's already turned down from WWE. This was before she then said, or it came out that she wanted to be paid the same as Becky and Charlotte, which is an even more interesting wrinkle to this, because it shows just how much money WWE seems to have.
Yes. And even then, people argue that WWE wrestlers are underpaid.
Yes. Well, it depends on where you are.
They are if you talk about how much they bring in compared to
if they're a $1 billion company.
Yeah. His point was New Japan would need a secondary person to be involved in order to make the contract work, which is added to the speculation of the AEW thing. I don't know if Bushiroad's inclusion means that they wouldn't need a second person if you're just talking purely the finances of New Japan, but possibly still, as Scotty's saying. So there's the chance that it is an AEW involved thing. Obviously, no one will know for sure until January 11th with the LA Forum show.
Yep.
If she's going to be involved there. The New Japan stuff, yes, is confirmed that stuff is going to be happening there for sure. I don't think it's a stretch to assume that the IWGP Women's Belt came into play because of this.
Yeah.
I do think that's a very convenient excuse to sort of be like, from Bushiroad's perspective, I'm assuming they see New Japan as the bigger promotion to Stardom. Yes. They maybe think, if we're going to invest all this money, we're not putting her on our, for argument's sake, B promotion. Not fair in Stardom, but maybe how they perceive it. So we need an excuse to put her on New Japan. So I'm very excited for Sasha and Friends, which will probably be what the show is, where it's all New Japan matches and then the one Sasha match against somebody from Stardom.
Yeah.
Which will be kind of sick, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I'm very excited about that. And that also all goes into the reports of that Bushiroad is pushing Stardom huge. There was reporting saying that, I don't know who exactly it was from, but there's reporting saying that Bushiroad sees or believes and sees that there is a hole in women's wrestling in the States, and believe that Stardom is the hole that can be filled there, or Stardom can fill that hole.
I think part of that interesting, though, and going back to money talks, is the reason that Mayu Iwatani turned down being IWGP Women's Champ. The whole reporting that they wanted her to be, whoever gets that belt, to be like a touring champion of the US. And so she asked to be paid more in exchange for that. And they said, no, we're not going to do that. So that adds another wrinkle to the financial discussions and what they want to do pushing into the US market, etc.
Yeah, that is very interesting. Scotty, I know you did a whole podcast about Sasha Banks in Japan. But do you have any other insight that you want to talk about with want to bring
He's
up
got
here?
more victory laps to take.
Yeah, I do. But I think it's interesting this week that like how many people were like, I can't believe they weren't willing to pay her as much as Becky and Charlotte. And I was like, time out. Have you watched them book this company for the past 5, 6, 7 years? Have you seen how Sasha Banks was handled?
Yeah.
Isn't that shocking? Because to me, it's not. Yes. Is she a ratings draw? Absolutely. Does she do as good business, if not better at times than them? I think so, based on everything we've ever heard.
Mm-hmm.
But she's not their chosen one, and she never has been.
Yeah.
She never has been their chosen one. It took 6 title reigns for her to get a successful title defense. It took 3 years for her to get back into the title picture. The only reason that she was in the main event of WrestleMania is because her and Bayley saved their asses during COVID. That's why.
And I also just want to point out that they didn't put her back into that picture until COVID, where it didn't quite matter as much.
Right. But and Sasha, to me, is no doubt in my mind, I thought she was their biggest star.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of just her presence, the way she carries herself, ratings. Like, there is stuff to back up that she was their biggest star. We've been talking about this for months.
She was a bigger ratings mover than Roman was at one point in time.
Yes, exactly. She was the needle mover. So take that, Roman. And I like Roman, but I think the more important thing now here is looking towards the future. I don't want to talk about Sasha and WWE. Will she end up back there someday? Honestly, probably. She probably will. But for now, she needs to go be the greatest of all time, like she calls herself. I vividly remember the Stone Cold Steve Austin Broken Skull sessions that they had together. Mm-hmm. And she kept calling herself the greatest, and she wants to be the greatest. Well, listen, Sasha, if you want to be the greatest, then guess what? You're doing the right thing. You're going to the place that's going to challenge you to be the greatest. I think she's the greatest U.S. women's wrestler of all time already. I have said that multiple times. I do think she is that. In terms of in-ring, just delivery, I think she is phenomenal. But she needs to go challenge herself now. Challenge yourself. See what you can do outside of WWE. And go challenge yourself against the very best women's promotion in the world. There's no better place to do that. That's why she went calling to Rossy Ogawa first. Like, that was the biggest thing I noticed. It's like, oh, so she wants to do this.
Yeah.
Obviously, she wants her money. She's not going to do it for free. And, she's a star. Go get your money. We were just talking about this with Mandy Rose. If you're going to get money, go get your money however you need to get your money, right? But the fact that Bushiroad comes into this to make this happen, it tells you everything you need to know about that IWGP Women's title, about where they are with Stardom, about where they are with all this. They care, and that's very important. This note in the Observer, one was a absolute blessing from Dave. But he said if they don't want Kyrie to defend the title against a bunch of U.S. indie women if they can help it. And when I read that, I said, yeah, you don't want to do that. You want to avoid that at all costs. No offense to the U.S. indies, but Kyrie, the IWGP aspect, this is supposed to have prestige. You want to build prestige. Because if you have IWGP attached, there is an instant mindset that this needs to be prestigious. Mm-hmm. So doing Kyrie versus all of the Stardom roster is great. That's great. You're safe there.
Yeah.
But if you want her to travel to the U.S. and defend, then you need it to be against other stars. You have Sasha Banks, possibly, probably now, whether it be on that Wrestle Kingdom, that second Wrestle Kingdom show that no one really understands what that is, or the Battle in the Valley show, or both, right?
Yeah.
There's a possibility. And if she commits to more dates, you give her the belt. That's just the truth. As much as I love Kyrie, as much as I love that,
Yeah.
I would understand them giving her the belt and then she leaves or whatever, because I don't think she's going to be here a long time. I don't. But all she needs is one match to get the itch back, right? And that's how you get more dates. When we watched it with Jericho, it took him one match to be like, oh shit, I kind of like
WWE. I'm out of here.
I kind of like life outside of WWE. It led to him being in a whole different promotion.
Yeah.
So it just takes getting the itch. And I think January 4th is the start of her getting that itch. Wherever the hell she faces Kyrie, that's where she gets that itch back. And then maybe she is there in AEW. You know, she screams the female John Moxley in terms of contract handling. Right?
I was going to say she screams like this may be a touchy subject. I was going to say, put her on Rampage. She's going to be the CM Punk of Rampage.
Well, no, I know that, but I mean in terms of contract, like John Moxley's, anytime he goes to New Japan, he's a top guy.
Yeah.
He gets big dates. And if she's in AEW, she's going to be the top woman.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. You and me have talked about this. She is that key free agent you bring in, big free agent like a CM Punk that changes a lot of things. But
I will say
it's exciting.
There's a big difference between the Stardom roster and the women's roster of AEW. There's a lot of people's
you don't got to tell me twice.
The point being that if Sasha is coming to cement her legacy as a great wrestler, that's the argument for a lot of people where it's like, why would she go to AEW? That's why a lot of people weren't going to AEW or were leaving.
Right.
Or for argument's sake, because what I was going to say when you were saying about wrestling in the US, my instinct was to say, yeah, you need people like Sasha, or you need like the people from AEW to add prestige. Or my next sentence was going to be, or the women from Impact, because Impact is still seen as having, in many ways, a better women's division than AEW. Mm-hmm. And the fact that I think that immediately is a bad sign for their development. And is the reason that some women go, I'd rather go to Impact than go to AEW because I think there's more structure and there's more prestige in being a knockout than being an AEW women's wrestler.
Yeah.
And so is Sasha motivated by developing that roster and being the focal point, being the John Moxley, being the CM Punk, the people that bring this prestige and level to it, that means that other people want to join? Or does she want to only go to places like Stardom where she can solely compete against the best and prove that she is one of them? Like Moxley is doing, where maybe he goes to New Japan and fights the best, and then he comes to AEW and he gets behind.
I think she needs a base. I think that's more why I say AEW. She needs a US base. I think that's the only company that's going to pay her the money and let her do New Japan.
I think that I think the argument it would be for both. I mean, you talk about Hall of Fame cases, right? I mean, having top tier, some of the best matches ever potentially with Stardom is there. And then developing that AEW roster is also there. That is a hole that needs to be filled. And because I completely agree with you, I think that the AEW roster is lacking in some aspects. And I think having a Sasha Banks type can really bring it over that hump. And I think I can't speak for her, but I think that she probably would like to do that. I mean, we saw at least conversations about that with the women's tag titles for WWE, is that she wanted to sort of define that, leave that as her lasting legacy. And that kind of got shat on several times. So I think that if she views her lasting legacy as, let me use my star power to bring AEW's women's division over that hump, and have them get more, looked at more seriously and do all this stuff, then that's a legacy. That's a Hall of Fame resume right there. She's able to do that, have these matches in Stardom. That's right there. She would be a ballot Hall of Famer right there. I think that is something that she could definitely do and bring to AEW, and definitely bring it up to be get it over that hump that it sort of needs to get to at this point. It's almost there. It's almost there. It's just,
I don't want to make it sound like we're totally negative on it, because the only issue now seems to be presentation on the part of the one match a week on Dynamite thing. If you want to go through the talent on the roster, including people who are currently out injured. Like, for example, Chris Statlander, Layla Hirsch are both really good. And you've got like people like Ty Conti, who's developed really well, Hikaru Shida, Jamie Hayter, Britt Baker, for people love her or hate her, is like their star. So promo battles are good. Same with people like Jade Cargill. There's a lot you can do there.
Yep.
It's just that it's not being presented well enough, and you need a star to justify, maybe.
And Sasha Banks would undoubtedly be that star.
Yeah. I mean, she changes the game, I think. And people aren't going to like this. She is a bigger star than the majority of AEW's roster. Truthfully, universally, internationally, that's just the truth.
Yeah.
Like, and that is something I think AEW fans need to, or will have to, accept. And that's why they bring her in. Like, she is the person you put on the front of posters, right? Like, that's big. That was a big thing back then. Like, oh, why is only Britt on the poster of the entire women's roster? It's like, well, they haven't made any other stars. Yeah. Now, you see Jamie on there, you see Jade, but I think there is a reason to question it, but that's why I think the relationship works, is because, yes, while she's, trying to help AEW get to a certain level, she's also wrestling the best when she goes to Japan. I just hope that she knows she has to know this, because she wants to be the greatest of all time. It's that really wins it for me, is she wants to be the greatest.
Yeah.
She's always wanted to be the greatest. To me, she has the best WWE women's match of all time. She has the best WrestleMania women's match of all time, best main roster. Like, I could check all the boxes for her. She has all that done. But now she's going to go and wrestle people who are universally in her league, if not better. And that's exciting. I have no problem telling people that Mayu Iwatani is better than Sasha Banks.
Oh, I thought you meant Fukigen Death. That's my dream match.
That's also true. That's also true.
Yes.
That is what Ryan's hoping. And I do want to play.
I'm in the Saida camp. Let's get Saida.
Oh yeah, same. Yeah.
I will play the game with you guys, because I feel like I play this game with everyone else that I talk to, because this is the game I've been playing for months, years, decades at this point with Sasha Banks. It feels like, is that, so she's gonna have the Kyrie match. Let's just assume that, right? And we don't know after that, but we know there's one Stardom date, which means that's one Stardom match. Who is it?
Obviously.
Who do you put against Sasha Banks?
I mean, obviously Saida. I mean, I think she's undoubtedly you're the gorilla person in there. Saida, bang her chest. Or if not Saida, then super strong machine, whatever that the gimmick was there.
Super Stardom strong machine.
Yeah, whatever that was. I mean, it's I don't know, because you would think that on the New Japan shows, if she's wrestling on the New Japan shows, you have the biggest, like you have Kairi, you have Mayu, and on the Stardom show, you can almost have like whoever. I mean, honestly, maybe not like a Saida for realism, but like
SLK is a lot of people's.
Yeah,
I would love. It's like those are the two, isn't it? It's Mayu and SLK in terms of like.
I think Starlight Kid.
My big ugly tweet from the other day. I wrote a lot of tweets about Sasha within like 20 minutes, but that was the one I said. I said you have three options. I think you have Mayu as the obvious. It's like the best against the best. You have that Starlight Kid, who they are 100% behind being their next big star.
Not just star. I think they're behind the Starlight Kid as the next Western star.
Yeah, she's the next face of the company, I think, in a lot of ways. She's also the most popular one of them in Japan, if you want to go by the Tokyo sports votes for whatever that. I don't remember what the vote was. She was always number one. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
The list of where the only people she was behind was New Japan's main event and Keiji Muto. I will never forget that, because I just remember looking at it. I'm like, that's insane. She's sitting here at 20 years old, and she's almost as popular as the biggest stars in Japan.
Yeah.
So I said those two, and then you have the obvious ones of Julia, Tommy. Your top core.
I think the Julia match would be, for me, the best match. That not just, I think of all the people that she could wrestle against, I think Maya would be great, but there's something about Julia and Sasha Banks that I think their styles combined would just be amazing. There's something about
Yeah.
this just like
Julie is the
fantastic.
one I need her to face later down the road so that she gets into the swing of things.
Mhm.
Because if you go in there and Julia absolutely rocks the shit out of you, like I don't know what you're it's like I don't know what you're supposed to do. That's why like I'm happy she's working Kyrie first because
Yeah.
they have a prior
Yeah.
relationship
Yeah.
and have wrestled before, right? If that makes
You can
sense.
ease in
Not
that
to
way.
There will
not
be
to
rest.
be on the wrong side of the promotion war, but I'm more of a Tokyo Joshi fan. So I want a Mirai match, both for the
that's
selling
cool.
possibilities and
Yeah,
then also
Larry.
Mirai
It's
someone
Larry.
that you can like. Maybe as a Storm fan, you can be like, "Oh, I think Mayu Iwatani should beat Sasha," but
Mhm.
Mirai is someone who's like, "No, it's okay if you lose. Just do some cool stuff, and then it's
Yeah.
all right." You know.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. If Sasha Banks can put over someone on the younger side for them before she leaves, like a Starlight Kid, like a
It'll be
Mariah,
Starlight Kid.
like one of those people that they're behind, then I think that's a bigger win for them than almost anything besides her obviously just being there to begin with.
Because
But
obviously, whoever they put up against Sasha Banks is who they want to push
Yeah.
towards the Western audience. So I think that is another big tell.
sure.
Well, speaking about AEW, let's talk about it. They had a big old show. AEW Dynamite Winter is Coming happened last Wednesday. I think this is the third one, if I'm not mistaken. Sting wasn't on this show. Where were you, Sting?
He just got surgery, I think. Actually,
Yeah.
He's got surgery. He's got a big old match
think
with
he got
Kenji
his- he
Muto
got his
coming
knee
up. What are you
scoped.
doing?
I think he got his knee scope in time for that.
God damn, you better. But yeah, Winter's Coming. I thought this was a fantastic show. I thought this was a like return to form, old school 2019 AEW show. I thought this was loads of fun up and down the card, huge highlights all over the place. I thought that this was exactly what they have needed for a while now. I thought last week was also very good. So the fact that we are starting to get to that trend, starting to build that up, I feel that coming a little bit of Rampage based on these Dark tapings. I feel that coming of Dark as well. That we're starting to get into that like across the board levels. And I think this is what's been needed. I love this show. I think we're on the right path. Sam, what did you think of this show?
I thought it was very good as well. I find some weeks that I don't have much thought about Dynamite. It's the only wrestling I consistently watch every single week.
Yeah.
Even things like Rampage I miss regularly, but Dynamite I will watch every single week. And a lot of the time I just sort of glaze over it. I'll still talk about it next day, but there's not stuff that I'm like. And whether it was because I knew I was coming on this show and therefore was taking notes or otherwise, I felt there was a lot to love about this episode. So I'm excited to talk about it.
Oh yeah, let's get into it. Open up first with the six-man game best of 7 series with AEW Trios champions Death Triangle, Pac Lucha Bros defeating Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks to get that match 4, bringing it to 3-1. I really liked this match a lot. I think I liked this match more than most people did, which people still really liked it. But what I've enjoyed the most out of this best of 7 series, and I think we're definitely getting it moving forward, is that every match has been different. Every match, it's not just the same, like, high spot stuff constantly the entire time. This match was obviously huge psychological, selling match stuff, leg selling for this match. And I think they have done a good job showcasing the just ability of all these wrestlers and be able to have different kind of styles of matches to put on. And now that we're heading into no disqualification and falls count anywhere and the De La Muerte ladder Escalera De La Muerte match, I think we are heading down the line of just an all-time best of whatever number series of matches, like an all-time rivalry. I've said this on the show before, but like Kenny wrestled like 4 matches, and according to my notebook, he was suddenly my second favorite wrestler of the year. And all I had was 4 matches. I was like, God damn! Because all of them were like 5-star, 4-star, 4.5, all over the place. So I think he just nailed it out of the park. Scotty, what did you think of this 6-man tag that opened the show?
Had a very good story to it. I think
Ooh.
that's the difference from the other match. Well, not the other matches, or more so not the first match. I'll say that. First match had an obvious story in itself of them coming back and all that, but this had the story, with Nick, and they had to, wrestle from below, and it just worked really well. I do think, like, in ring wise, it's like the weakest match, but
Mhm.
that it was almost supposed to be in that respect,
Yeah,
which is why
I
I
think
liked
that
it
makes
so
sense.
much,
I get what you're saying.
if that makes sense. It's like not, and I think people forget this, not every match needs to be a 5-star, 4-star, 3, it doesn't have to be a classic. That's how wrestling works. You got to tell stories, especially in a 7-match series. You got to give some you got to give some to take some. It's like this match being the way it was will make the rest of the way infinitely better
Mhm.
because of the way they booked this, right?
Yeah.
Now you're going to work with the Nick Jackson foot thing. Now you have 3 brand new stipulations to work off of that's just going to change the dynamic of each match. And I mean, these 6 guys are just all phenomenal professional wrestlers. If you want them to go out there and have 4, 5, 6-star classics, guess what? They'll do that tomorrow.
Mhm.
But they know what they're doing because it's all working to the big final, match 7. Because listen, people, they're not going to do the ladder match. I hope everyone knows that by now, that's where we're going.
Yeah.
But I think that's why
That's
I enjoy this.
the one like common issue with it that I'll
Yeah.
agree with. I
Yeah.
think it's absolutely fine to do steps the rest of the way, but just don't announce them all at once.
I
Wait
agree.
until after the next match is concluded
Yeah.
to be like, oh, match 6 is now going to be false count
Yeah.
anywhere. Like, just do it that way, because
Now you know.
no one expects a 7-match series to go any less than 7. WCW somehow managed to make it go 8 matches, which is an incredible feat. No one has ever expected it to go less than 7. But you need
Right.
to keep the kayfabe trappings alive that there's a
Yeah.
chance that it won't go 7. And as soon as you go, there's stipulations for everything, that's like, well, you've shown your hand.
Yeah.
They-
Just have a little bit of restraint. Let us know next week what the one after that's going to be,
Right.
what the one after that, instead of just doing it all at once.
Yeah.
And that does take out some of the immersion. But
Mhm.
you're right in terms of the ending specifically. The Valiant to a fault coming back to fight even with a bad ankle is going to be the story going forward, and it's a nice additional beat exactly midway through the 7-match series, something that keeps you invested to a different degree for the latter stage of this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 match culmination.
I agree with the not announcing the steps,
Yeah.
especially the ladder match.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the one you should have held off of until after match 6, because that would have been like, not only would it have got a big pop of like, holy crap, it's a big ladder match to end it all, but now we're going to that ladder match.
Mhm. Especially
but
since
shout out
it's
to
in
Kenny
the
Omega, because that man is wrestling Mr. Ospreay on the 4th, and then the next week he is wrestling in a ladder match. So
Mhm.
he is going to be a tired man start next year.
Yeah, especially since that ladder match is happening at the LA Forum show. It's definitely
Right.
like oh well, this is definitely
Oh
happening.
god, that show is going to be nuts.
Yeah, this is 100% happening. 100%.
Have they done the forum? They have, right?
This is their second time.
Yeah.
It's the only thing they've got coming up for the next couple of months where they've been to that arena before. Everything else is
Okay.
new.
Yeah, the
All right,
LA Forum was the MJF promo.
All right, which one?
The one of
Fire me!
Fire me, F you, Tony
Oh, okay.
Khan, that one.
The MJF promo. Oh, all right, cool.
That one. Yeah, there's been a lot of MJF promos that are like that one, that's the
main
one.
reason I ask is because they are loading it up so much. I was wondering if it was first time or not, because
that's fair. That's fair.
There is an emphasis on this show already.
Mm-hmm. I think part of it is this is a conspiracy, but I think part of it is to also just want the tickets to sell a little bit faster,
As
they should. Which is, I think, part of the reason why they announced it is to sell those tickets. Which I don't, and that I'll say that as the defense. I think you announced it earlier so that you can be like, hey, this match is happening. You should definitely go see these shows and buy some tickets. I
selling
think
very well.
It's selling
According
well.
to
I
Ticketmaster.
say that only because I know with
They just have the upper ring that they need to sell.
Ashley and Amanda from How to Talk to Your Friend About Wrestling podcast, they tried to get tickets and it was like way more expensive than it was last time. So I think they're loading up the show more to make that ticket price worth it. I think that's the game there. Moving on, speaking about MJF promos, backstage we had an MJF little promo here where MJF was able to give his rebuttal to Ricky Starks last week, which was again a phenomenal Ricky Starks promo. And then again, MJF cuts another fantastic promo. It is a rarity when he cuts a bad promo, but when it's great, it's just simply great. This guy is undoubtedly the best promo in this company. I think by hands down. Then after that,
no, Marina Shafir, but
my apologies. You're right. You're correct.
I want to very quickly shout out for MJF's thing. He does not need more than a week to sell a match. And he also is proving straight away that he gets being world champion with the line, the only thing that matters are you or are you not the AEW world champion?
Yeah.
Which is such a great line of like, I'm better than you. And also you should be aspiring to this.
You should be me.
Such a great champion line.
You should aspire to be me. That's a great point.
he's now doing the heel thing though of I'm not going to put my body on the line for people, and I'm not going to wrestle the 5. I was like, dude, isn't this what Jay White did like 3 months ago?
I will say MJF has been doing it since he joined the company. Where he's
I
only wrestle 5 times a year.
Yeah.
Either get the ticket or don't.
That's true. He's such a liar though, because like he wants to have the great match. You could tell with him that he wants to have the great match.
But I think he's happy to wait to have the great match so that he's not got little injuries here and there. He's happy to wrestle 5 times a year because he knows every match is going to be at the very least good. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, that is true.
The Acclaim made their way to the ring with, of course, some great raps. But they were attacked mid-rap by Jay Lethal, Sanjay Dutt, Jeff Jarrett, and Satnam Singh. They tried to fight back, but it was a guitar shot to the head of Max Caster that Jeff Jarrett made. He ended the promo with saying, "Scissor this, slap nuts." Which
Ryan, I want to hear you review albums.
Yeah. So this is MF Doom. He's a good rap guy. He's a good little rapsmith. Great guy. 50 Cent. He's pretty good. Needs more money.
Scissor that, slap nuts is an all-timer line as well, by the way.
It's an all-time Jeff Jarrett, like perfect. If I can sum up Jeff Jarrett, it's, hey, scissor this, slap nuts. I think it's perfect. But now,
I'm not excited about what this storyline entails. I don't like where this is going.
It looks like we're heading down the pathway of, I'll say, the Acclaimed versus Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal, probably at the Forum. So that would make sense to me. Or maybe like a New Year's Smash, show or something. But we're going for the tag titles. So,
but I like this. This is one of those things where I go, yeah, Jeff Jarrett's fun. Like, it's a nice palate cleanse, and it does set the tone for the rest of the episode in terms of little breakups. Like, this is a good use of him. I just don't like that this use of him is going to transition into a tag title shot. I don't care about that, but I do like him as a palate cleanse.
Yeah. We also had backstage Tony Schiavone talking to Jericho and JAS, talking about Claudio Castagnoli and saying that he's just a flash and pan like Joe Exotic and Ricky Starks. Interesting, they brought up Ricky Starks. It looks like we might have the next feud for old Ricky. And that he'll be taking up and doing a little tune-up match. And this is really just setting up the idea of what the Action Andretti match ended up being for Jericho. The next match we had was Jungle Boy Jack Perry defeating Brian Cage in what I like to call it as the actual Dynamite Diamond Battle Royal winner match. Since it just became the title match. This was like, we'll still have a match that represents the Battle Royal. And it was Jack Perry. I thought this match was good. I think it was very much like worked within Brian Cage. Brian Cage works way better with like these smaller guys, with like lucha style guys. So I think this match worked. It was pretty good. And then you get that. I thought it was also very funny to have the Brian Cage tap out during the match and then also get pinned during the match. That really sums up Brian Cage to me in this promotion.
There was this. I don't know if this was on TV or like the commercial in whatever it's called. You get what I'm saying. But Taz was absolutely ragging on Brian Cage. He's like, yeah, he kind of just likes to get his stuff in. That's kind of his thing. And I was like, that is so true. Like, that is the Brian Cage match.
He calls himself Mr. Get My Shit In.
Yeah, it's like, I think that's why I don't always connect to Brian Cage matches, because it's like, dude, you were an actual house. Like, just wrestle like that for like 5 minutes. I promise you don't need to do the Lacey Evans install. Shut up. I will never forget how mad he got about that. I will say, though, that all that matters is that Jungle Boy and Hook are together.
Yeah, post-match, Jungle Boy basically calls out
the women's demo was that, people.
Yeah, calls out Big Bill, calls out Lee Moriarty, calls out Stokely.
Bill. What a terrible name.
Gets beaten down and saved by Hook. So we're getting a little tag team action there. Sam, what did you think about this whole segment?
That angered me irrationally. I will say women's demo will go up as well. This is the only thing that bothered me, right? I get that Hook's got this like aura about him, right? If you're Big Bill, if your whole thing is like, I'm a big dude that wrecks stuff, why are you running from Hook? Why are you? There's 3 guys there. There's Hook. Sorry, there's Stokely Hathaway, Big Bill, and Lee Moriarty against Hook, who's coming out. It's 3-on-1. Hook's an idiot for doing this. I'm fine with Stokely being like, leave him, we'll get him another day. But Big Bill has to, at minimum, stand his ground.
Yeah.
He's like double the size of Hook in every physical way. Just look at him for a bit, and then if Stokely pulls him away, fine. But at least stare him down. Because otherwise I'm like, okay. Why are you scared of them?
Yeah. That's a great point. Or maybe more. I mean, that's a great point, but maybe the aura of Hook is just so strong that it just really destroys Big Bill to his core.
His confidence is shot. He's like, I can't beat this guy.
Yeah,
I can't believe they gave Morrissey a name of like the joking name. It's like if we called Batista Big Dave. It'd be like, because people just say like Dave or Big Dave all the time, like jokingly. Yeah. It's like if they just were like, yeah, that's actually a wrestling name. It's like,
I was for my birthday last week, a friend of mine gave me wrestling coloring in book, but it was definitely not branded. So it had Sasha Banks, and then it was Becky Lynch in her steampunk gear. So definitely wrong. But every time Batista was in the book, it was his full name, which kind of really threw me. So it was David Batista, and I was like,
David.
Why?
David R. Batista.
The Hook point was a good one, though. It's like, and this has always happened with Hook. Like, he shows up and everyone runs. It's like, why?
I have no problem with the running. I have no problem with the running. I have a problem with you think you can win 1v3, and I have a problem with probably literally the biggest guy in the promotion being like, nah, I'll run. No.
It would have made more sense if Hook came out with like a chair or something, or a kendo stick or some sort of weapon to just even the odds.
He did come out with a weapon.
His fist?
Yeah. His
red rum.
One day I just need Taz to run down there and suplex someone. Like, that's all I'm waiting for. Is no one's saving Hook, and then Taz is just like, all right. And he just tosses a guy and all day. That's all I want. I just want one Hook one Hook.
He pulls Taz like suplex. The little neckerchief out of his suit pocket and puts it over his head like the towel.
Yeah.
Runs down.
That'd be great.
He should just get one of like the small towels and make that his handkerchief. I don't know. There's something about that'd be funny.
Anytime that Mr. Jack Perry comes up, I fear for the poor kid's life because Ryan hates him so much.
I don't. I've warmed up to him, but I still think
he's Jack Perry now. Now he's Jack just Perry. A name that needed to switch.
I want him to stay as Jungle Boy Jack Perry. Like, I don't want him to get rid of the nickname. I think it works as like a whole package. I think just Jack Perry is too generic. I understand people's complaints about just Jungle Boy, but if you do it all as one, it's like a nice.
Yeah, I liked when JR would call him Jungle Jack, so the fact that they've went to Jungle Boy Jack Perry works really well.
Yeah, because eventually the evolution of that is just calling him Jungle Jack Perry. That is such an 80s like name for a wrestler.
He's got mutton chops. Call him it. It's fine.
Yeah, I agree. Backstage, we had a promo from Blackpool Combat Club, just summarizing everything from Ring of Honor. Claudio winning the title, Yuta winning the title, Moxley choking out Takeshita. Moxley said, of course, he's going to stomp Sam McVar's face at Rampage. They says into a bloody mess. It looks like it might have been the other direction. And he also told Hangman Page he knows where to find him and told him to bring the Dark Order buddies if he wants. So just a short recap promo for Blackpool Combat Club, establishing we're moving forward. We're past all the William Regal stuff. We're moving on. We've won titles. I'm going to beat up Hangman Adam Page. Just moving forward. Great, solid stuff from this group.
I really missed in this segment their old catchphrase of step up or get stepped on. I think he should have brought it back because that fits with where they're going now.
Yeah.
And BCC versus Hangman the Dark Order is already very, very happy to hear that this is happening. Big fan.
Yeah.
Big fan.
Moxley Goon is going well. That's what this is now.
Moxley
it's not.
Goon?
It is because
you're right. You're right.
He just got his minions behind him who are ready to beat the crap out of people, and they're just going to beat the crap out of people. I like that this is the direction they've switched to. I don't even know if Danielson's in this group. I've never seen these four people together ever.
He was at William Regal's bedside caring for him.
How dare you,
true.
Scotty?
That's true. I know. I'm sorry. He had to go to Stanford to do that. I know. Or is it Florida?
It's really just Florida now.
Located nowadays.
Next
Blackpool.
Blackpool. They go to Blackpool.
Where's Charlie Dempsey?
Next up, we had a 6-man tag: House of Black, Malachi Black, Brody King, Buddy Matthews defeated the team of Aaron Solo, Cole Carter, Nick Camarado. Well, okay, hold on, that's incorrect because it's not the three of them because QT Marshall was
Camarado wasn't wrestling; he just got his shit kicked.
And also, QT Marshall was pinned, so so that definitely is not how that worked. But basically, this match was literally just getting misted in the face by Julia Hart, and then everybody beating the shit out of everyone, black massing QT Marshall and getting the pin. This was a continuation of House of Black running through the entire roster until they get to, I don't know, maybe the best trios, whoever happens to be the best trios. Maybe they portray as team of the company. No, maybe that's when they have trouble.
The Elite versus House of Black is going to be unbelievable.
Yeah, it's interesting that House of Black came back around the same time the Elite came back. It's almost like we're building that up. I
think the way they've changed House of Black since coming back has been perfect.
I agree.
This was like a re-debut again because it was an actual match, and them just devastating people is perfect. Yeah. Never did I think Julia Hart was going to fit this group as perfectly as she does, by the way.
Yeah.
She was like such an important add because her presence just adds so much. I don't even know if she wrestles anymore. I don't even care. Like just her wearing the hat and having the looks and doing the mist thing, that's good enough. It fits in. And yeah, I mean, I'm happy to see Brody King just absolutely wrecking people. Yeah. I'm happy to see Buddy Matthews back. I'm happy to see Malachi back. Malachi looks like he's in the shape of his life, by the way. I noticed that. I know he didn't do anything besides kick QT Marshall in the head, but they all look like they're in great shape, ready to go. They're gonna kill it, and I can't wait to see who their first real match is against. Because that is always an intriguing part of it. But they should be on the next pay-per-view. I'll tell you that.
I agree with that. I could totally. You speak about loading up the LA Forum. You know, the Elite win and the lights go out, and then House of Black show up and
just revolution,
destroy the Elite. Sam, what did you think about this tiny little segment?
I want in the run-up to House of Black versus the Elite, Julia Hart versus Brandon Cutler, and therefore battle of the managers.
Let's do it.
He's got the spray bottle. She just misses him in the face.
That'll be entertaining. That's good.
Has Brandon Cutler done that yet as a gimmick in a match? Is he takes the spray bottle and does it like as he's doing mist, almost just like put it next to his mouth and then spray?
No, he has definitely used it, obviously, but I'd like to see them dueling with mist and spray.
Yeah,
at once.
Yeah.
No, it was cool. That's the whole point. It's cool. I'm hoping whoever Buddy dumped on their neck is okay. But other than that,
was that Lee Johnson?
Yeah, maybe. It was, it's the whole point of this is to be sweet so that you're like, yeah, House of Black are cool. And then you just build up to them going up against someone, probably the Elite. Where they go after they lose that match, I don't know.
Yeah, we'll find out. We'll find
out.
out.
Oh, yeah, they're definitely going to lose. That's a good point. They're definitely taking the L. But it would be nice for them to get some wins because that was their biggest problem the first time around. It's like they lost all the time.
Yeah, I've noticed this with TK's booking is that monster booking is it's never tough. Ends. It's tough for him to do, which is just you give them a bunch of wins and then they ultimately lose, and then after that you're like, all right, now what do I do with them? And I think that's an issue that Tony Khan has because now he's just booking, he's getting more and more monsters, and now it's like, okay, now what do I do with these guys? Next up, we had a little video package running down Jamie Hayter and Hikaru Shida. And then, of course, we had a backstage interview with Renee Paquette with Britt Baker and Rebel, saying that Hayter's going to beat Shida, and that Sky Blue interrupted her, challenged her for a Rampage match, and then that happened. I didn't think it was a good promo. Moving on to for a lot of people saying match of the night, Action and Andretti.
Riho, by the way.
Riho? Yeah.
Yeah, I remember Riho. I feel like I always have to remind people that Riho exists because she comes back, everyone gets excited, and then she's gone again.
Yeah.
Every single time. And it's bothering me.
Can't wait for it to be Soraya's tag partner.
The draw.
Still be a good match. Still be a very good match. There's got to be something happening of Riho or AEW or something that's just I don't know what is happening.
She had there was some sort of travel issue and then she broke her arm.
Yeah. But this time around, there's nothing.
This time there's just nothing.
At least I think.
Next up, we had what a lot of people were saying match of the night. Action Andretti defeated Chris Jericho. They really played up the idea. We haven't seen Action Andretti since months ago. I think it was like June or something. He hasn't been around for a very long time, but they really did a great job. I thought this match was fantastic. Almost like a perfect match of Chris Jericho versus Action Andretti. They really played at the idea of this is just a random jobber. The crowd was perfect for this match. Talking about crowds enhancing matches, doing the bit of let's go jobber and then turning into actually rooting for Action Andretti was just a perfect bit of entertainment here. Chris Jericho was the perfect guy to be in this spot to really play into it because I think he did a good job showcasing himself against Action Andretti. I think he's definitely I think Action Andretti as a prospect definitely has a lot to him. I think he definitely needs a little seasoning, but he needs seasoning like when they first got the Dante and Darius Martin, and now look at them today and they're fantastic wrestlers. So I think he is definitely a huge prospect. Obviously AEW announced them as official signing following this match. I believe there was reports saying that he basically was signed months ago because Chris Jericho saw his QT Marshall match and was like, I'm going to wrestle that guy. I'm going to make him a star. And the follow-up is going to be key here. But for right now, I think Chris Jericho succeeded in making Action Andretti a star. Sam, what did you think about this match?
The follow-up is key. I don't think Action Andretti is going to become a cornerstone of AEW.
No.
They've got too many people. This is always a complaint. They've got too many people, so you can't get young homegrown stars over. That's not always a bad thing. Yes, you sign talented people and use them if they're talented. There's just not enough hours in the day, which is sometimes difficult.
Yeah.
He is, however, an established person now. He is, as I've put it, he's now an AEW folk hero. So he could lose every other match he has in 2023, right?
Mm-hmm.
But every time he comes out, people are going to be chanting whatever, chanting for him or chanting "Let's go Jobber" again because they remember that that's what got him over. And so he's going to be ingrained in fans' minds as a significant person. Even if he loses all the time, he's someone that in 5 years' time will matter a lot more. The follow-up is key, but with him, there's way more length to this bit of string. He doesn't need to be on TV all the time. He's now cemented in the history of AEW. Mm-hmm. I think the fact that "Let's go Jobber" as a chant got over, and this guy had such a remarkable performance the same week that Mr. Irrelevant in the NFL became relevant for the first time is insane coincidence that that's happened a lot. I'm not a football fan, but that's been all over my social media of the guy that shouldn't be doing anything is suddenly a megastar. and then AEW accidentally does the same thing in the same week. It's great. Really well timed. I like him, and I liked him when the QT Marshall match happened, and I like him now, and now everyone likes him. Good for Action Andretti.
Totally agree. Scotty, what do you think?
Yeah, he'll be an interesting one because they just have so like Sam said, they have so much talent that it's like, what is his ceiling, right? Because obviously he does all the moves really well, and he'll get better and better because he's still very young. But this is the game we play with AEW. Will he matter in 6 months, right? Will he matter in a year? I mean, just because he beat Jericho doesn't guarantee anything to me. Jericho is a interesting one where they're probably going to run it back. Jericho's probably going to get his win back. And, that's kind of how this goes, right? So it is about the follow-up. Will he be Daniel Garcia, or will he be Lee Moriarty in terms of have great showcase showings on TV? Will he stick around on TV, or will he disappear? Because unfortunately, those two guys, very similar styles, very good wrestlers, but it's gone opposite ways for both of them.
That's a good point. That's a good point. One is definitely there's a push towards, and one that is just sort of moving around sort of thing. We'll see how that goes. I think you're right, Scotty. Is that it's definitely like the follow up is key here, and we'll see how it goes. And I think I saw part of the dark taping. He's currently on a dark taping, so and he won that match. So it's dark, but it's not the it's not the end of the world. But we'll see how it sums up with Rampage and Dynamite as well.
Yeah, the first step has been taken. I have a question. Is this the first match that they were doing the Ocho count for 8?
They did it.
I don't remember it happening first.
They did it at Final Battle.
Right, okay.
The Claudia match. But I think that was the first time. So this is really the second time.
I like that a lot as a gimmick. Just the fact that it's not even just a Jericho thing now that it feels like an AEW overall thing is really, really fun.
Yes.
I think it's cool.
It's another one of those AEW isms that are starting to penetrate. Yeah. I love to see it. Next up, we had Ricky Starks doing another backstage promo. Kind of summing up. I would think this promo was still very good, but just sort of like a sum up, shortening of the promo from last week about hard times coming up. Hard times coming up in wrestling, and saying he's paid his dues. And he's got a lot riding on tonight, and when he becomes the next AEW World Champion. So I thought that was a very good job. A little summation promo from him. We then have some more stuff happening. We have Jericho having a temper tantrum backstage following his loss, so that was great. And we got Ricky Starks warming up, but all leads into the next match, which is Ruby Soho defeating Ty Mello. This is a blood feud match following the pay-per-view where Ty Mello destroyed Ruby Soho's nose. They got reconstructive surgery, and then they faced each other in a match here. And I thought this match was, serviceable. I think it was the weakest match on the show, but it was ultimately still pretty good, I thought. Sam, what did you think of this match?
It was one of the better Dynamite women's matches that have happened recently, I think. I was going to bring this up.
I would also say to that does not include Hayter or Storm.
Yeah. If you say that, then it goes even further back than even just recently. It goes a while back. I was going to mention this when we were talking about Sasha in terms of people coming in trying to be the star of the AEW women's division, where the argument earlier this year was, well, Athena could be that. Ruby Soho could be that. That's the intention of bringing these people in. Ruby is someone that still hasn't hit for me in terms of as a performer. But Ty is someone I quite like and always think she's getting better, and doesn't even necessarily need to be getting better at this stage. You can just say she's quite good at times. So this match was one I really enjoyed, to be fair, but I would say I still like Ty's stuff more than Ruby's. I also need Ruby to bring back the split-legged wrestling tights. Don't go to the trunks. You had split leg. It was unique and different. Bring it back.
That's awesome. Scotty, what do you think about this match?
That was fine. I thought the second half was a lot better than the first half of the match.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Which really got me into it by the end, which is, kind of how you're supposed to build a match after all.
Yeah.
I think the point of it being the best AEW women, or one of the better AEW women's matches without a Shida or Hayter or Storm is very true.
Yeah.
Because most of the time it's like, it's bad. It could be really bad, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's a great point. You can only go so far, right, with some of these things, but I'm excited that next week should be a women's main event for the first time in a very long time, with two people that deserve that spot.
Is next week the trios no DQ?
Yes.
Yeah.
Then that might main event, and Shida versus Hayter might open.
I'm fine with that too, as long as it's not stuck in the middle.
Format.
Yeah. Yeah.
Though we know the Elite don't draw at the end of the show, so just saying they lost people. But since it's no DQ, I think that does change a lot of things. And I like what he's, what Sam's saying is that one needs to start, one needs to end. I think that's best case scenario, because if you're not going on last, you want to go on first. And I think Jamie and Shida can really kick it into gear, especially if they're first and the crowd's not tired.
Yeah. Which is also something they tend to do is sometimes the main event is the first match, sometimes the main event's the last match. It really
that's
is.
Rampage.
That's Rampage,
baby.
Damn it. We both, that was perfect. Backstage, and I really want to highlight this. Backstage, Alex Marvez talked to Hangman Adam Page, who's being checked by the doctor with Evil on his side. He gives an update and saying that he was unconscious for 60 seconds last month. When he came to, he had 100 text messages. He was answering all the questions and answering, oh no, I know the date, I know who I was wrestling, I know who I am. But then heartbreakingly, he said that when he unlocked his phone, saw his son's photo, the doctor asked him who that what was his name. He couldn't remember his son's name. And Paige says that if Moxley wants to send him to hell, then he's taken Moxley with him. Boy, howdy, this is awesome. This is the perfect thing. Obviously, they didn't explain the storyline a couple weeks ago, and a lot of people didn't like that. But I think the idea of, backtracking and explaining on the back end works way better in this instance, because why would Adam Page go out and say that first? And why would he do that first? Why wouldn't he just go out there and beat the shit out of Adam Page because he's mad about this instance? And then he can explain it down the line. But I understand that some people wanted the explanation first. But I thought this was a great promo here. Scotty, you're angry about something.
The promo was phenomenal. That goes without saying. Hangman Page, he's refound what makes him great.
Yeah.
Which he lost for a while there after losing the title. Not his fault, really. Not his fault at all.
Sure.
But he was just directionless. So it's hard to, but now he has direction, right? But, I listened to this podcast, Brace for Impact, which is an Impact podcast, just because I don't watch it, so it's more fun to listen to them talk. And JD is on there, who we're going to have on in a few weeks. I think for the Muto show, or I think
that's the plan.
So in February. So, but he made the point that I've been trying to put it out there in my own head, because as an athlete, you don't like losing.
Yeah.
You don't like being embarrassed. So how difficult was it for people to understand that Hangman Page didn't like getting embarrassed in a world title match? That was simple enough. Now you add in this phenomenal promo where it's, I couldn't remember my son's name. And it's like, that makes sense, right? And now this has become, to me,
personal,
the hottest feud in the company. Well, yes, personal, but the hottest feud in the company. Hotter than MJF and Danielson, which is an accomplishment, because I think Danielson and MJF is going to be fantastic, and already is. The way they ended this show was perfect. But this is the feud.
Yeah.
this feels like the world title feud almost. And I'm sorry, MJF, but you get two former world champions going head to head based off of an accident that happened. And now it's going to be fantastic. The best stories in wrestling come from things that you don't plan for, almost always, right? Daniel Bryan, Kofi Kingston, just to name a few recently.
Becky Lynch,
his entire reign or run has been, that was an accident, obviously. Like that is the best of wrestling, and they're making that happen right now.
Did Becky Lynch ever feud with Nia Jax after that?
No.
And really dropped the ball on that in hindsight. I
feel like that's because it was Nia Jax.
I also don't think you want to. Maybe I was going to say you don't want to draw too much attention to like you broke my nose for real. I know what we're saying about realistic stuff has such a positive impact, but I feel like that's something you don't really want to draw that much attention to.
Fair. It works for Britt Baker because her nose breaks every match. So, she can feud about the nose.
I can't wait.
She still talks about it with Sheeta. Remember, she just did that this week. She was like, "The only thing she's famous for is breaking my nose," and I was like, "Or being a champion for a year." But no, it's fine.
Yeah,
it's all right.
I can't wait for the Rampage feud of Billy Starks versus Britt Baker over her nose.
Oh, sweet.
Sam, what did you think of this promo? Because I thought this was
fantastic. I am as high on it as other people. In terms of I thought it took a while to get there. The core idea and his whole thing of I couldn't remember my son's name is so powerful.
Yeah.
Is incredibly brutal. Is so honest and, well, maybe it's not honest. Maybe it's a lie that they've concocted outside of what really happened.
Sure.
But it's something that you can understand and relate to. And there's a really good way of putting it across because I know what we're saying about some people, either the story explained to them or whatever it might be. This is so much more interesting to me than you knocked me out and I'm angry about it. Mm-hmm. The fact that absolutely. You knocked me out and I could have died, or I could have totally forgotten who my son was, and I've just become a dad and I'm going to get you. The fact that the first Dynamite I was ever able to say I was live at was the Toronto one with Hangman's promo about saying to Moxley that they're the same now, that Moxley and Hangman have both like seen life taken from this world and brought life into it. That's something the two of them relate on, is being a father. And so there's going to be something to play with there on how could Moxley try and take that away from Hangman as something as precious as your relationship with your kids. So all of it is going to be amazing. You're right, world title worthy of a feud, but that's the best kind of thing when the best feuds have nothing to do with the belt, because the belt can make its own feuds, but you need little sprinklings here and there for things that are, equally as powerful, like Billy Starks breaking Britt Baker's nose.
It's interesting because it's like these two guys are guys that I think can agree on a lot of points and agree on a lot of things and have the same values, have the same virtues, can deeply care about their child and all this other stuff.
Same opinions about CM Punk.
But if it wasn't for this one clothesline that caused a concussion, they wouldn't be blood feuds. They wouldn't have a blood feud. Right. If it wasn't for this one moment, you would have to almost concoct a way around that. But now that it's there, it's like it can all stem like in any other situation. I think these guys would get along. Maybe they could be a great tag team or whatever. But it was something where like this incident has caused their similar viewpoints to now go against each other and butt up against each other is just going to make beautiful wrestling, I think.
The only difference between them is that Moxley doesn't respect what Hangman's done thus far.
Yeah.
Again, that promo in Toronto was all about Hangman being like, point. You called me boy. Mm-hmm. I'm a man. We're the same.
Yeah.
Whereas Moxley's like, no, I've done way more than you and I'm not going to lose to you. And so it's a little bit of that as well.
Which is probably where originally that was going to head to, was with this feud. And then it's turned into the concussion aspect.
It would be nice for Hangman to win a feud. He hasn't won a feud in a long time.
That's his thing, though.
I know, but it's like eventually you want to get him back to facing MJF. I'm sure.
So Moxley's going to murder Evil Uno, and we're going to move from there.
Exactly.
I can't wait for the Blackpool Combat Club Dark Order and Hangman match. Even though who's left in Dark Order?
I need Hangman to wear his purple rose tights because those are my favorite ring gear of all time. And I need Evil Uno to not be in the match. It should be Hangman and Grayson and not Grayson. He's not there. Hangman and Silver and Reynolds.
Yeah.
But Uno needs to be on the outside, still dressed like he was during that promo. He's just in the background in like a button-up shirt with the mask, just going like, "Please don't hurt me, Mr. Moxley. Please."
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. Well, let's get to the main event. MJF versus Ricky Starks for the AEW World Title and Dynamite Diamond Ring. It was, of course, MJF that defeated Ricky Starks. I thought this match was really, really good. I thought this was a really great first match, first world title match for Ricky Starks. I think there's obviously, he has a lot of road left in front of him to have more of those types of matches. But I think this is a great first outing for him. And obviously they're, speaking of like, continuing the pushes and seeing what they do next. They've did that a little bit with Bryan Danielson, showcasing Ricky Starks at the end of the match. I thought Ricky held his own in this match, which I think would give a lot of confidence to those guys in the back. I thought MJF did a good job here as well. But I think this is just a solid main event. And I thought, I can't wait to see where we go next. I think Bryan Danielson is a great spot for MJF, and it seems like Chris Jericho is the next thing for Ricky Starks. So I'm excited to see what happens down the line. Sam, what do you think of the main event?
I think with the finish, it maybe to some felt a bit flat, but is obviously in keeping with how MJF always acts. I think if you look at the structure of the match in kayfabe, MJF would have still probably ended up winning, even if it was just a straight wrestling match. But he's MJF and he was sick of wrestling and he's tired of dealing with Ricky, so he's just going to kick him in the nuts and move on.
Yeah.
I've realized a lot recently that matches that are a little bit sloppy, I like more because it helps promote the realism. So if you take the finish of the match, the attempt to bridge out, MJF can't hold it, so they fall back into another pinfall. He gets the bridge. Ricky tries to turn that into a Liger bomb, but they can't get the positioning, so MJF just falls back down. So they turn that into a Rochambeau, which then turns into the ref distraction. That probably wasn't intended to look quite as sloppy, for lack of a better word, as it did, but it really added to these guys are tired and they're fighting each other with little bits here and there just to get to the end of the match. I really liked it. I think that, as you say, good first defense, both of them doing some awesome stuff. Ricky Starks took one of the best sternum into the ring post bumps I've ever taken. The Bret Hart move, which I hate every time JR goes, Bret Hart used to do that. I'm like, you shouldn't have done. It's not what you're supposed to do. But Ricky took it dead and then just kind of like flopped. It was a good first defense. I am as high on Bryan Danielson as everyone else is, which I know is sacrilegious, but I don't get as hyped for his stuff as others do. I do, however, get excited about his AEW Originals matchups because I want to see how that works. Him versus MJF, I'm at the very least intrigued by, but I wouldn't say I'm excited about it.
Yeah. I'm not going to blame you for the Bryan Danielson thing. It sounds like what we talked about earlier, that you missed out on the Danielson stuff, probably like how I did it as well.
Yeah.
So I don't blame you for that at all. But I also want to point out, I really loved, there are two things that I wanted to point out. One, I really loved the Ricky Starks reaching for the bottom rope during that submission hold. I thought that was that was the summation of the storytelling for this match for me, is just Ricky selling, Ricky crawling to the rope, trying to get there. His arm gets pulled back, trying to do his foot gets pulled back, doing everything in his power. I think the summation of the underdog that is Ricky Starks right now. And that's
part of what I was saying about like MJF clearly would have won the match regardless because he had the upper hand there, but he's just sick of having to deal with it.
Yeah. Two, I thought that obviously the kick in the balls was a callback to the week prior. That was obviously what they were doing for, but I understand why they didn't do it, but I thought it would have been great if instead of the kick in the balls, he did the brass knucks. That continuing that storyline of instead of grabbing the ring, diamond ring, he's grabbing the brass ring. He's fighting for the diamond ring as well. He uses the brass ring to get them both. There's something about that I would have liked. But again, we're getting away from William Regal. We are, we're redoing what we did last week. So I get all that. Scotty, what did you think about the main event? You haven't talked about it yet.
About the Cody Rhodes special. The Cody Rhodes special is great.
Is that a negative? I can't tell with your tone of voice.
No. I mean, these two guys are Cody guys. So that's mostly the had nothing. It was nothing like a Cody match. So that's the funny part. They don't wrestle like Cody at all. But I thought the match was good. I'm in the same place as you. Good first defense. I think Ricky Starks is the star that he should be.
Mm-hmm.
Feels like that. His connection with the audience is great, and when he gets that big win, it's going to be awesome. MJF he's interesting to me because I do think I've noticed with his matches, he is yet for me to have. So like with Moxley, that match was kind of upsetting. In some ways, it was good. Just wasn't the level I thought it could have been. And again, play to the MJF story that he cheats and whatnot, so that's okay. But he's an interesting one that the guys he works with best are the guys he came up with, which makes sense, right? Darby, Yuta, those guys are some of his best matches. But I'm going to need someone to get out of MJF what CM Punk got out of MJF.
Right.
That's what I'm waiting for. And that's why I'm excited for Danielson, because it's like, well, Danielson and Punk were cut from the same cloth in a lot of ways, right? As wrestlers. So that's my hope, is that's where we're going. And Danielson as the big super baby face, as someone that lived through the Daniel Bryan days, it's very good. I'm very intrigued because this does make a lot of sense for his first pay-per-view title match.
Yeah.
Right? And I mean, Danielson's going to lose another world title match, which is kind of funny. He's lost all of them. 2 or 3 now? 3, I think.
Something like
that.
Yeah.
Does it need to be for the title?
Does it need to be for the title? No, but MJF has made it very clear he is not wrestling unless that title's on the line.
True. Good point.
Which is why I like what MJF's whole thing is. He is the prize fighter in a lot of ways. He is the all right, well, I'm the world champion. I'm only wrestling when my title's on the line. So it doesn't need the title because I think the feud itself makes a lot of sense without it. And that is another interesting thing you bring up, right? We are 2-3 months away from Revolution. There's a lot of time to work with this. You can do a match without the title if you want to, much like how we did Punk and MJF before the pay-per-view, right? Because it started pretty much this early, and then they worked into it. They had that first match, and I actually prefer the first match. But there's ways to go here. Like, Danielson, you need to beat me to get this title, or you need to do something. And I'm sure we'll do that. Will MJF do this for the 19th time, do like the lashes, and you have to, go through the gates of hell to get a match against me, which we've done with Wardlow and Cody already?
Yep.
I would prefer if we don't, because we've already done it, but I wouldn't be shocked if Danielson was that guy to have to go through that to build all the way there. He did with CM Punk too, didn't he?
Sends him to fight, because it's not like he's got for the Cody thing, it was I've got people around me, and then it turned into
Jericho did it too, didn't he?
Yeah, he would. Well, it's more like
Nick Gage,
unless he's bringing back the firm.
Right.
Then he's not really got like a bunch of people that he can be like, Danielson, you need to fight my guys. So I don't know.
He can hire a gun, I guess. Maybe.
Or
maybe guns?
Or maybe 2 guns. Damn.
That would be bad. Please.
It's March 5th is Revolution. So it's
it's far away.
Almost 3 months away.
Right. And they don't have another, unless they're not doing Battle of the Belts. So they don't have another TV special I can think of until
New Year's Smash and Bash.
Yeah, they have New Year's Smash, Holiday Bash.
If they want to do 2 of them, they could do that.
Yeah, they could do it, but I think
it seems rushed though.
They could do the Forum, and
you said that earlier. The LA show.
God, how much are you trying to do on that Forum?
I'm looking at tickets right now. I'm not even kidding.
I mean, it's gonna be the show, I guess.
Yeah,
until Revolution, right?
If the Forum show ends up being Escalera de la Muerte, the debut of Sasha Banks and MJF versus Danielson on January 11th. The rest of the year, it's done.
Yeah,
Dynamite wise, they're not topping that.
Yeah, that's
crazy.
Good. That'd be pretty good.
Interesting.
Well, that is it for Dynamite. That's it for Winners Coming. We're at our 2 hours mark, so I don't know if we want to talk about Tag League. I'll summarize it real quickly.
Oh, let me ask my question. I'll ask.
Oh yeah, you didn't do your question.
I'm waiting for Tag League. Go. Go.
Okay, I was gonna say summarize Tag League. Carl Anderson sucked ass, so fucking bad. I've seen him worked harder in Impact. He was better there. The junior tag league, it was okay. I thought it was fine. I wasn't like against it or anything. Didn't really like fully love it. And then the heavyweight one I thought was better. Still really good. Not like great, but I thought it was really good, that match. But that was good. And now we're gonna move on to Scotty's Corner. It's Scotty's Corner. It's his question of the week. It's Scotty's Corner. Does that work?
Rate the Wrestle Kingdom card now that we have it.
Rate the Wrestle
Sam,
Kingdom
you're
card.
the guest. You can go first.
I need to search it up.
I
So
also
leave me
need to
alone for
pull
a
up
second.
the Wrestle Kingdom card.
I know it off the top of my head, but that's because I'm a psycho.
Okay, so Wrestle Kingdom card.
Oh, wait, no. Time out. No. You missed the most important part from that show. Suzuki-gun's dead, you jerk.
My apologies.
Time. Back up.
My apologies.
I like that you said that as if Ryan killed them.
He did kill them. It's his fault. It's his fault.
Minoru Suzuki announced that Suzuki-gun is going to be over by the end of the year, and it was announced for the Road to Tokyo Dome for that final New Japan show that the final match will be Suzuki-gun 8-man tag against each other.
Great.
So the snow's going to fall down, and they're all going to be crying in the ring. It's going to be
The
fantastic.
saddest part of this isn't even Suzuki-gun going away. It's that we're not getting Taka Taichi Mania anymore.
Mm-hmm. Unless
that's where my Tomoka Inaba big matches happen. I can't just not have those anymore.
Unless
we have the last one tomorrow, and it's Tomoka versus Suzuki, and I can't not just have those anymore, man.
I didn't know about that, but now I definitely want to check that out.
You're welcome.
I think unless obviously we turn it into like Taichi-gun or some other thing, which I think is possible, but we'll see.
I don't know why they can't do them anymore, though. Like, Chris, he said that they can't do them anymore. It's like, wait, why? It's like, what? They don't know each other anymore?
Yeah, they're no longer friends. They're no longer in the
they
same
hate
faction.
each other. But all right, so have everyone seen the card?
It's in my eyes now.
So there's 3 pre-show matches, of course.
Mm-hmm.
One of them has this guy's name's great, Bolton Oleg.
Of course.
Don't know who that is. They have the Rambo, of course, who will then face the KOPW champion, which I think is the same night. Maybe? I don't know. They don't have it on here. I don't know. Shingo's not on the card, so
yeah, he's undoubtedly going to be in this Rambo.
Yeah, right.
Well, no, he's not. He's not on the Rambo because it's the right to challenge.
Yeah, so he'll probably defeat Taichi at Taka Taichi Mania tomorrow because they're having another match.
Yep.
And then whoever wins the Rambo will probably face him somewhere on the show, maybe. I think that's what they said. Okay. Anyways, you see the show in front of you. Give me a rating on a scale of 1 to 10.
I'm looking at it.
I guess more an excitement level for yourself.
Looking pretty good. Ooh, Carl Anderson. Looking pretty good. Oh man, is it bad that I'm more excited for Keiji Muto than Carl Anderson? Because I think
that's like a spectacle.
Great, dude.
I want to see Wrestle.
Look at that match. That's a great match.
I want to see a Wrestle Kingdom show where
there's only 6 knees that work in that match.
I want to see a Keiji Muto show. That's a very funny joke, Scotty. I want to see a Muto match where Muto has more work rate than Carl Anderson.
Every match ever. What are you talking about? Keiji Muto's an all-timer. Get out of here.
I was going to say this earlier when you were talking about Sasha winning the IWGP women's belt. I look forward to her pulling a Carl Anderson next year and going back to WWE, but having to show up to lose the belt.
That would be the worst case scenario for Bushiroad of all time. I don't know.
It's a believable scenario.
I think in terms of excitement, I'm almost at like a 7. Maybe.
That's a good number.
There are things in here that I'm excited about. I'm excited about the IWGP Junior Tag because the opening of the tournament with those 4 were great.
That match will be great.
The women's title match I'm excited about. The tag team
Second
title
on
match.
The card. Don't get me started.
Yeah, the tag title match. It should be good. I would have preferred it to be Aussie Open, but I understand we already saw that match and they could do that match another date. They can also do that match on a later date and
96 champions. Jesus.
Yeah, they could sell a show with that match. Why sell it here for?
Well, I asked Sam to give his rating first, but thank you.
Ryan.
Oh,
my apologies then. My apologies.
Ryan's giving a much better.
Well, Ryan, continue. Ryan, continue down the card.
Narita Zack Sabre Jr. All right, it's just a little cold right now. Carl Anderson, I don't give a shit. Muto. All right, that should be fine, but it's a 6-man. Shota Umino being in there is interesting. The 4-way, it's been a while, so it's real cold for me. But I did love that tag match that they had like months ago.
New Japan doesn't do enough shows at the end of the year for any of these things to be hot.
I know. People complain about it being cold all the time, but it's like
they do this every year.
It's every year. It's post tag league. It always is like this. Obviously, Ospreay Omega, I've said before, I think has potential to be...
You already called it your match of the year.
I think already is going to be my match of the year. I think there's already going to be not only match of the year for me, but maybe one of the best matches in the history of wrestling. I think that's the ceiling for this match. I think that's the ceiling with these two.
I'm scared for you.
And then and then Okada and White, I think will be good, but it's just ice cold right now for me.
It should not be the main event.
Yeah, it's sad because it should not be the main event, but maybe it's Westernized. I don't know. Sam,
what should be the main event if that shouldn't?
If I got to pick, Sasha Banks showing up. No, but in seriousness, I mean, the world title should always be the main event. I'm just saying, I think people's excitement for this show definitely comes from the Ospreay Omega match, at least internationally. I don't know in Japan, obviously, because one, I'm not there, but two, like you said, I feel like people are forgetting this is the match. If that makes sense. Yeah. Like Jay White this is his third defense.
Yeah,
I think that's part of the problem is he hasn't defended the title a lot either.
Yeah,
so it's like, and he's had the belt for months now. So I think that is part of the problem. But all right, Sam, do you have a number for me?
I'll go 5 out of 10 because New Japan isn't a promotion I keep up with to any.
Fair.
Right, I'm just going to be honest. We don't all need to know everything about everywhere. I'm just going to be honest. I don't know that much about them. I like Jay White when I see him, so him versus Okada could be interesting. Ospreay Omega, we've just heard is the best match ever to take place.
That's my ceiling. That's my ceiling. It's the best match of all time.
I'm intrigued more than anything to see how many revolutions on a flip they can do. When I have checked out New Japan, I really like Hiromu Takahashi. So the junior heavyweight title 4-way is something that I'm like, I would like to see this. Yes, it's a collection of names I have heard of and that can do cool stuff. So I want to see that. Keiji Muto's retirement tour is just weird, just very, very weird. So I'm enjoying where they're just like, we just have everybody. Who do you want? You have them.
He said he went from 5 more matches to at least 15.
Yeah, he's tripled his output.
He's got so many gimmicks to retire at once. Yeah. He can't do them. The tag title match, I've got not one way or the other about it.
Sure.
Tam versus Kyrie will be interesting. Tiger Mask is on this show.
Yeah. Oh, and you skipped the Carl Anderson. You skipped this Carl Anderson match just real quickly, Sam. I just want to get your input on that Carl Anderson match.
That's where they lose 5 points.
I like to call him the Sasha Banks of 2022.
By that is he doesn't wrestle.
I will possibly, this is the thing, right, for my wrestling consumption, I will possibly watch this show, but me and the people I watch wrestling with have a different wrestling show to watch earlier that day, because for some reason TJPW are like, we also do January 4th, and I'm like, why are you doing this to yourselves?
Yeah. I was about to ask, what time
does that show start? Because this starts at 1:30 a.m. Eastern. Well, the pre-show does.
Don't know.
I'm gonna go find that.
Well, I was about to say, you're ask Sam, who's in Scotland, and then we have to convert over to America time, and then
because I only know that in my head it's because I don't know. I know how it used to be, but I've not really looked up I'm waiting until closer to the day to actually worry about when that is.
That's fair.
Because we don't I watch it with a bunch of people from Scotland, so we're not doing it live. We agree not to look up spoilers, then we watch it in the evening because all of us are like sane.
Yeah.
Apart from my one friend who's going to watch it live and then join us later in the day to watch it again. So
yeah,
it's a great appetite.
But
5 out of 10.
I was going to ask you, is that as a not necessarily a New Japan watcher, does this match lineup for you do enough that you would watch the entire show, some of the show, none of the show? Where are you sort of on that scale?
It's Wrestle Kingdom every year is at a stage where if people I know want to watch it together, we'll watch the whole show. If it's just me, I'll pick and choose matches.
Okay.
This has got enough matches where there's a chance we'll watch all of the show. Again, like I say, the junior heavyweight 4-way, the tag title match is pretty cool. The US title and the main event are both pretty cool. The IWGP Women's match. Enough things there where you're like, maybe we'll watch it. But I don't know if that's something I'm going to be doing.
That's fair.
And that's a time difference thing as well, and spoilers and all that stuff, and wanting to be up to it. Like,
I agree.
Totally understand. And now, Scotty,
if anyone cares, it's at 9:30 p.m. I'm hype.
Eastern.
What,
Eastern. Sorry.
The TJPW.
Yeah. So
yeah, you're watching that.
I'm going to get to watch that, and then I'll just watch Wrestle Kingdom, and then I'll be exhausted. It's great.
Sure. And then, Scotty, can we real quickly get your thoughts, your 1 to 10 rating of the New Year Dash Guard?
10.
Oh, perfect. Perfect.
I expect Shinsuke Nakamura to come over from Noah and show up on that card. I expect
Sam, if you're not on the joke is the New Year Dash, they will not have the matches announced until the participants come out.
yeah.
I like that gimmick.
It's a mystery.
It's a great gimmick.
It's a mystery vortex show.
You know what's funny? Dragon Gate has done that for almost all of their house shows this year.
Yeah.
Which is wild. What a wild thing to do. Is just let's be mystery vortex the entire year. But yeah, I'm looking forward. A lot of wrestling in the next coming weeks. I'm already tired.
Yeah, I mean next week is going to be a big week.
We're not going to get the preview Stardom Dream Queendom. I hate you. I hate you.
Yeah, next week has Stardom Dream Queendom.
Everyone watch it.
Has AAA Night of Champions. IWTV, they're crowning a new IWTP World Champion. So that's interesting. What else?
Golf clap.
What else? And then Noah will have their New Year show, which should be interesting. That's the show.
Yeah, we'll review that.
Yeah,
eventually.
That's the show with Shinsuke Nakamura on it. So that is going to be interesting.
Is that the main event?
Probably. I wouldn't be surprised. Well, no, I believe the main event is going to be Kiyomiya versus Kano,
as it should be, because that's the title match.
Yeah, but I don't know if that.
I liked your confidence in that.
I think it was determined like today or something, unless it was determined earlier and it was just.
I'm going to tell you right now.
Oh, perfect. Well, as he was looking it up, I'll start closing out the show. Sam,
it isn't.
There we go. Perfect.
I'll start closing it. Wait 1 second. Hold on. Wait.
No way to sum up Noah than just be like, nope, that's not what's happening.
Yeah, now we can close out the show. I apologize.
Sam, thank you so much for coming onto the show. It was a blast having you on. Where can the good people at home find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Quantum Roberts. You can find the site that I'm the editor-in-chief for at Near Falls. You can also find interviews I've done with some professional wrestlers on YouTube at All Angles Wrestling. There's also a Twitter account for that, All Angles Res. I'm sometimes funny, sometimes insightful. That's what this entire podcast has told you.
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you so much again for coming on. I forgot to do this, and I don't know if I want to drop it on you right now. But
no, you gotta.
A gimmick we have on the show, of course,
you have to drop it on him.
Yeah, a gimmick we have on the show as well is match of the week. So what have you? So yeah, I know it's an original gimmick. But what we do every week at the end of every week is just what of wrestling that you watched this week. Doesn't necessarily have to be a match that you saw that came out this week. It could be like super old or whatever. What match of this week did you love the most?
I'm so lucky I decided to watch wrestling before going to sleep earlier this week. I rewatched for the first time in ages the High Man Omega versus the Young Bucks from Revolution.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I'm being allowed to say anything I watched, I rewatched that. I made a VHS tape ages ago, which was the top 5 AEW matches at that point, and that was one of the matches on the tape. So I was like, I'm going to rewatch this. And When I first saw that match, I had zero context for a lot of the references in it because, again, I'd just come back to wrestling like a year earlier.
Yeah.
And even as someone who needed to have it explained to me after the fact, I still was like, this match is awesome. Just on moves with a capital M and a Z alone, awesome match.
Yeah.
But then when you get like the context for elements of it, it's even better.
That's perfect. That's beautiful.
That's really saved me for answering that question.
That was perfect. Scotty, where can people find you at home, and what is your match of the week?
Find me at home? Don't find me at home. Please don't do that.
What is your IP address? What is your physical address? I'm gonna dox you and get banned off of Twitter.
Do you want my social security too?
Why not? Why not? In for a penny, in for a pound.
You can follow me at Scotty Wrestling on Twitter if you don't already, and you should read my interview with Julia because that's the only thing I care about. That's the only content I'll probably care about for the rest of time, truthfully, because I thought she was really good. I didn't do anything. I just asked questions. And my match of the week is Gunther versus Ricochet from SmackDown. That was actually really, really... I don't usually watch SmackDown, but I was like doing nothing Friday, and I was just like, whatever, I'll put this on. And I learned that match was on. I was like, oh, all right. And I got John Cena. So it was a pretty good show to just put on. It was a double whammy for me, but that match actually kicked ass. It was the best Ricochet's looked in like forever.
Yeah. That's what I've heard.
Gunther's really good. Gunther.
I heard that there was some controversy because I believe it was Cage Side Seats had a review where they said Gunther won with a
shitty power slam,
but it's like doing the Emerald Flosion, a famous move.
He calls it the Last Symphony.
Oh, beautiful. Chef's kiss. I love that. Well, you can follow me on Twitter at Ryan Knights. You can follow me. Follow the whole show at Calipod.
I'm sorry. I have the Noah thing up and it's translated automatically. And you know how Kano sits there with like the fist out?
Yeah, he's Fist King.
His name translated is Fist King, and it's just so funny because I've never seen that before. I turn my head and it just says Fist King, and he's looking at me like this. I'm like, all right.
You say he sits like that, so I imagine him on like the train.
Just everywhere he goes, he's stuck.
He's a scary dude.
Especially when he does the fire kicks. That's the scariest part.
Jesus.
You can follow the host show at Count Out Pod. Rate and review, subscribe to the podcast wherever you get them. Ring Post Radio. We greatly appreciate it. Here on the Count Out Network. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening to this week's show. We will be taking a break next week because we aren't going to record on Christmas Day. One, because
I tried, guys.
He tried. He really tried. He really tried. But I was like, hey, I can't do it. I gotta celebrate Christmas, I guess. No show next week.
I was originally working Christmas Day, actually, so I'm really happy that.
Jesus Christ! Yeah, get out of that job.
I did.
Yeah, you did. But thank you, everybody, for listening to this week's episode of Ring Post Radio. Again, thank you, Sam, for coming on to the show. It was a blast having you on. And we will see you all not next week, in the new year. Actually, we will see you all in the new year.
January 1st, we got a guest set. We officially. We're also going to review.
I didn't know that.
We're actually going to do a double dose. We're going to review Stardom, Dream Queendom, and Noah, and then we're going to have Chris Sampson on to
preview
Wrestle Kingdom.
Oh, so, perfect. I didn't know that until just now. Perfect. Welcome. Well, we'll see you all in the new year with another